My name is Mitch Benner, and we started this podcast to remove the stigma around sobriety from addiction.
My name is Aaron Nelson. Through our stories and the stories of our guests, we hope to help you find a new path.
All right. Here we go. Thank you for coming back, listener. We are here on episode 12. This is Shattered Darkness. I'm your co-host, Mitch Benner, with the other co-host, Aaron Nelson. Today is a special day for me. So we have our guest today is Irene Merriman. And Irene's husband was my first sponsor when I got sober. And in my mind, Irene is kind of like the mother of sobriety. Like she just was there for me at the beginning, would pick me up and loan me her husband whenever I called. So in my mind, is she just and you call me hun. I love that. I love that. That just kind of makes me feel really good. So, anyways, welcome, Irene Merriman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to hear your story. So Irene just started a awesome business here in town last year, right?
Yeah, back in April.
Okay. And it's eyes, brows, and aesthetics. And you do permanent makeup,
Facials, anything that has to do with aesthetics, like waxing, tinting, microdermabrasion, chemical peel.
That's awesome. And you do that all out of your house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And how's business going for you?
It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty busy. Yeah.
Good.
Can't
That's
complain.
awesome. Well, Irene has agreed to tell us her story today. And from what I understand, it's a pretty wild story.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll kind of turn it over to you and kind of let you start wherever you want. And we'll probably just ask you questions along the way.
Sounds good.
Well, okay. Just real housekeeping. Just to that mic just a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to
closer.
say the same thing.
Dating, before I begin this story that I'm going to share, I just want to put it out there, whoever views this as far as family and friends. There's no ill will behind this. This is my story. This is my journey. This is a healing process for me. And what I share is not to hurt anybody or to shame anybody. It's to hopefully help other people out there that are experiencing the same journey, similarities. They can relate. So I just want to put that out there, make that clear that I love and respect my family. And this isn't to hurt anybody, but I need to get this out and put it out there. And, you know, I thought about it. I sat on it for the last couple weeks. Do I leave things out? Do I share? What do I not share? And, you know, I feel like if I'm going to help people, I just need to keep it real, keep it raw, keep it 100. And that's just what it is. So
That's awesome.
I know. I'm actually kind of embarrassed that we haven't done that yet.
Well, it's good that you're doing it, but that's part of this journey. Like alcoholism is no joke.
Yeah.
And it's not really anybody else's fault, but feelings can get hurt along the way. But we're all about vulnerability and being honest with yourself and being honest with others. And, you know, sadly, that's kind of they kind of have a part in that too. Not necessarily a responsibility, but they kind of have to be tough a little bit too.
Absolutely.
To an extent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So good for you. But yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome.
You set it up the table real well here. I'm excited. Let's hear the dirt. Let's go.
Let's get it going. All right. I'm going to take you back to 1979.
Here we go.
Where it all began. So I am Mexican, a little bit of Italian in there from my dad's side. I was born and raised Venice, California, the Venice Beach, as we're known, West Side. But I didn't grow up like, you know, I know people put this label out there, Venice Beach, ooh, fancy. No, I grew up in the hood. I grew up in a real poor community. It was Black and Latinos. You were either a Venice Shoreline Crip or a Venice Trece, which were for Mexicans, and Venice Shoreline Crip was Black. So I grew up in that kind of community for the first 15 years of my life. My mom and dad, they met when my mom was 16. My mom married my dad at 18 or 17, if I'm not mistaken. And she had been with my dad throughout his entire life until the day he passed. So
Wow.
I think they were celebrating, it would have been 50 years this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
So, yeah, so back to how I grew up, where I grew up. I was born and raised Catholic. I went to private school from first through 12th grade my entire life. I have a brother and sister, older brother, younger sister. Um, my dad is an addict himself. He was a heroin addict, so I grew up in that environment my entire life. Um, so that in itself was
Was it pretty obvious? Like, did they try to hide their
oh,
his drug
no,
use? Or?
no. So my dad is like, God rest his soul. My dad's straight gangster.
Yeah.
He grew up in the hood. He was from V13, very well known. My father came from a big family, a lot of brothers and sisters. A lot of my uncles were heroin addicts as well. That was like the drug back then would hit. And my dad started shooting dope at the age of 13.
Jeez, man, that's crazy.
And he got heavier into it as he got older. My mom never got involved in drugs. She was never a big drinker. She was always the good girl.
Yeah.
She was drawn to the bad boy.
Right.
And my dad was he was a fox. He was a womanizer.
Yeah.
Like the women were drawn to him, and
Well, and that kind of lifestyle. I mean, it's almost its own country,
Mm-hmm.
and like you guys have like that kind of stuff that's like its own leadership, and it's kind of like what I understand is that community really takes care of itself.
Yeah.
But anything outside of that is, am I close or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
right,
so he
right.
was pretty.
He was, my dad was deep. My dad, he was a hustler.
Yeah.
That's how he made money. He was in and out the game. He, did what he had to do to make ends meet on his end, and he was always in and out of prison.
Yeah.
And I remember just being so young, going with my mom to go visit my dad in prison. I'm like, and that was so normal
Like
for us.
normal, yeah, exactly.
Like we got on that bus, and they search you, and you walk on through, and I see my dad behind, a gate, a window, and to us that was normal. And when he was out, he did well for a bit, and then he'd relapse, and it was just that vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And
Would heroin always land him back in jail?
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think more so that it was a drug dealing, shit like that. The lifestyle, getting caught up in that. So growing up around that, a lot of my uncles and aunts on both sides of the family, on my mom's and my dad's side, they were all heroin addicts. So it's what we knew.
Yeah.
It was normalized. It's it's what I was brought up around, and there was always partying. If Mexicans just find any reason to party. There's a party every week, and
right.
Even if it's if it's a baptism, if it's a 2-year-old birthday, if it's a baby shower, you're gonna make it into a party.
Mm-hmm.
And we turn up.
Dude, that's real. Naya's family is Hispanic, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
every little thing, everybody shows up.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we definitely live on the other side of that coin.
Yeah. So
but that's awesome.
It was just always a party scene, and drinking was normal. It's just what you do. Everybody's partying, everybody's drinking. It's accepted. Obviously, the drugs weren't. It wasn't something that my grandparents were fond of. Obviously,
right.
They went through a lot with their children. And, with my dad and my uncles and aunts, and growing up around that. See, I was exposed to a lot at a young age.
Yeah.
I had to grow up very quickly.
Yeah. Were you ever like, I don't know. So your mom wasn't involved in the gang life. Did that ever present itself in your life? Like, was there ever a choice to do that?
Yeah, there was choice. And I had an older brother who he was constantly scolding my little sister and I, like, you guys better never get caught up in this. And, and he
tried to protect you
guys.
guys.
He tried to protect us from what we were growing up around. It was hard, like, it was, like I said, to me, walking out of that apartment building into the life that we grew up in, that's all normal. That's just what life was. I didn't know anything else but that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's just the community that you grow up in. And, it's just my mom, she was just, a strong force in my life with her being straight. My mom was always the hustler, the hard worker. She went to work every day. And, thank God to my mom that she kept my dad from being a junkie on the street.
Yeah.
My dad was able to shoot dope at home. My dad was able to have food on the table, have a shower, have a warm bed. My mom, her loyalty to him was like, whew, she's godsend. She's an angel, and like she never left his side. My mom never ever strayed. And my dad, he did a lot of dirt. I love that man, but my dad he was
hardcore dude.
Yeah, and he, like I said, he's a good looking dude. He had a lot of tricks and hoes. I'm sure they said that, but he was a sly one, that one, and my mom never left his side. She stayed with him no matter what.
Do you think it was love or,
Well, it's young love for one, that's old school love right there. That when they say the term old school love, that's old school. My mom, like I said, Catholic. You stay committed to your vows.
That's so true.
They walked through the church. They got married in the church, so the way they were brought up is, you work through whatever you have to work through. I mean, like, kudos to my mom. There were many times that with all the stuff that my dad put us through, we would tell my mom, why don't you leave him, Mom? But she never did. Yeah. She never wanted to break up her family. She wanted to try to do what she could to keep us together. And she did, she did the best she could.
That's great,
and,
man.
So just, going through life and being exposed to that at such a young age and normalizing it, here I go, I'm going through a lot at such a young age myself, with my dad being there but absent. He was always loaded, so he wasn't very present. My dad never, attended our sports, and he didn't, he got to my high school graduation late, and he didn't show up to my college graduation. And, drugs played a lot into that, and so there was a lot of resentment there.
For sure.
My dad and I butted heads a lot. We were so alike, but so different, Totally. I have a really strong personality, and, I will speak my mind, and with, being in a Latino family, they're used to having you submit, being a woman, and I'm just not a quiet one like that. I'm not going to submit to you.
But wouldn't you say that like Hispanic culture is fairly matriarchal?
Yeah. It can be.
Yeah.
It can be, just depending on how your family roles in the situation, how they
kind of what they're involved in.
Yeah, it just, so it varies, and it varies how you're brought up, like, my family, they, some of them come from Mexico and some of them come from here, there, and then they're brought up in this community. So you're trying to adapt to your community, and, you're learning things. Like my dad, I'm sure when they were kids, they only spoke Spanish, and then they got older and they're English speaking and this and that, they're taking on all these new things and using what they have, and they're molding what they have. And so, just growing up in that scene, I went through a lot of struggles at a young age that didn't come to surface until I was my later teens. There was molestation involved in my family. Personally with me, I'll speak for myself. And, I harbored that for a long time, feeling shame, thinking it was my fault. I did it. Yeah. And, I want to stress and put that out there, like, don't carry shame with that. Like, if that happened, like, you guys got to bring that shit forward, because that will make you so sick in itself.
Yeah.
Sure. There's so many outlets out there. There's so many things that you can do to help heal your soul, to help you get through all that trauma.
Yeah.
And I never knew that, because in our family, that's another thing in our family. We don't go to therapy.
Right. Exactly.
We don't talk about our business.
You deal with your own shit.
Nobody would have known my dad was a heroin addict back home, because I go to private school. We don't talk about that. You shush. Yeah. We don't say, you wear a face, you stay strong, you do what you got to do. And that's it. We don't, and that's just what it was. That's what I've always known. You hold your own.
And that's kind of the way to protect that community, right? Yeah.
And so, going through that, I'm getting a little older, and as I'm getting older, that the molestation stuff subsided and stopped. And
And I'm sorry, do you mind if I ask you how old you were when that happened?
it started happening when I was 3.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So it went on for about 5 years or so,
Wow.
give or take 5-6 years.
I'm so sorry that
Yeah,
happened. That's
it's
crazy.
terrible shit,
Yeah,
and like I said, I never, it just always stayed upstairs. I never brought it to surface. And we were never told that in our family. We were never schooled on, hey, if this happens, you go to an adult, you say something.
Right.
Nobody ever says anything. So who knows how many of my family members have been through this same situation. I'm probably one of the ones that's bringing it out, and I'm sure that if any of my family members are watching this, they're probably going to be like, oh, shit, like,
Yeah.
damn, or it may hit a spot with them. I don't know, because we don't talk about it. So I don't know, but I'm talking about it.
Dude, your strength is crazy, man. Like, I'm just sitting here listening to this. Like, this is by far the most intense story that we've heard so far. And it's just, your strength is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, to me, that's something that I have that can never be taken from me.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that I'm grateful to my dad for.
Yeah. I was going to say, do you feel like you got that from your dad or your mom?
With that beast mode, don't get it twisted. My mom, she's strong. She's strong
I was going to say, she seems like it.
My mom's a strong woman. My mom's heart is pure gold. But my dad, nobody could fuck with him. Yeah. Like, nobody could fuck with him.
Was that kind of his reputation too on the street?
Oh yeah, nobody wanted to fuck with him. Yeah. Like, he was one of those people that were intimidating just looking at him.
Just to look at him?
Like just, man, when Morgan met my family, or my husband, should I say?
Yeah.
My husband.
I know Morgan.
Yeah. So when he met my family for the first time, and he met all my uncles, and, he was like, oh, shit.
It's like, what am I getting myself into?
No, you know what he compared my family to? He said, oh, your uncles look like they were on American Me. For those who are familiar with American Me, I don't know if you've ever seen it, with Edward James Olmos. You got to check it out. It's a gangster movie. They're all gangsters. They're all, in prison. They're, and so that's how Morgan looked like, oh shit, what did I get into? Here comes this white boy walking into this Latino family.
Yeah, and he's literally from like white boy suburbia. Dude.
Yeah, there's so much that you're saying that reminds me of me. So Nea's dad is like black belt in jiu-jitsu, tall, nice. Cauliflower ear.
Oh yeah,
he fucked me up bad.
That's
and that was like one of the biggest fears too, of like, when I was starting to slip up and drink and things. I was like, I don't know, man, he's gonna kick my ass.
He's gonna get me.
I'm gonna mind my P's and Q's, But yeah, her family's huge.
Same.
Yeah, it's kind of like listening to Nate right now. This is awesome.
Yeah. So
what age would you say that you started to experiment with drugs and alcohol and things like that?
So my first joint was when I was 12.
Okay.
It's the first time I smoked. I didn't make a habit of it. That was the first time I tried it.
Yeah.
I didn't start really smoking herb. I got more into it later at like 17, 18, 19. That's when I really started smoking herb. My first time ever drinking and getting drunk, I'll never forget. You guys remember Boone Farms?
Dude. Yeah.
Peach.
Yeah.
Oh man,
God, dude, that's like a hangover central.
That's drinking game stuff right there.
I was 12 years old.
Oh my gosh, man.
That's I snuck out and went upstairs and drank with my neighbor, Clumsy. His name was Carlos, but Clumsy, God rest his soul too. And I got my first drunk with him. And I don't know how I climbed my little drunk ass back in my window, but I made it happen. I still think
on
about
the second floor.
On the second floor, he was on the third floor.
Oh my god!
And there was no bars or anything to hang on to climb in the window. It was remember those windows that you have to do this? Yeah. So it was one of those windows. So I had to leave it
open a little bit,
just a little bit. Yeah, because if it's closed, you're asked out, And
wow.
I'll never forget that. So, and that was the first time I drank. Didn't drink too much, didn't touch on it after that.
Do you remember enjoying it, or?
Honestly, I remember faintly, obviously I remember being tipsy. I remember just getting tired.
Yeah.
And I don't remember even like enjoying it. You know, I think I couldn't even relax because I was scared of getting caught.
That's
that
what
I
I was
snuck
just gonna
out,
ask
you know,
you.
and I
Like,
was
was it-
literally,
Yeah.
you know, upstairs
Yeah.
and my bedroom's right below, you know, so I think I was more frightened of
Yeah.
like, shit, if my dad finds out, he's
Yeah,
gonna,
fucking-
you know, whoop my ass,
Yeah.
you know, because my dad didn't play. My dad was really strict.
Was he?
He didn't let us go out. Like my dad was hard on
Wow.
us growing up. Like nothing, especially for me, nothing was ever good enough for him.
Yeah.
You know, ever. Like I could never do anything to make that man proud. And that's at least how I always felt my entire life growing up.
Do you think he wanted you guys in the life?
Hell no. I know he wanted better. And in my deepest like heart, like I feel like he wanted sobriety.
Yeah.
He just didn't
Well-
even know like where to begin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and you get so caught up. I obviously have no idea, but I can imagine like you get so caught up in that life, like it's
It's
almost
just-
impossible to get out of it.
and it was, and especially if you live in that community.
Well, and then on
You
top
know?
of that, you know, you've got a prison record and, you know, felonies that are following
Mhm.
you around. So it's
Mhm.
just, I mean, you're not an employable person. So, you know, and that was another question I was going to ask was, did your dad provide a lot of money for you guys through that?
No, he didn't work a lot. Like he would have these jobs here and there, but my mom was the sole provider. She worked, and you know, it's crazy because you know we grew up poor. You know, we didn't grow up with much, but my mom put me, my brother, and sister, all three of us in private school. And
That's
if you guys are
crazy.
familiar with that, it's very expensive.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
So that's where her paychecks went. She was determined for us to get out
Get out of
of
it.
what we knew, you know, like she wanted better and
Yeah.
more for us. And like, I mean, shit, I would get on the bus, you know, hour and a half bus ride just to go to school,
That's crazy.
you know, on the city bus just to get out and to go to school out in Playa del Rey, you know, and I lived in Venice. So you got to get that blue line and catch it all the way out. And so I'd be at the bus stop 6 a.m., get on
Jeez.
that bus to make sure I was at school in time. And like, you know, the sacrifices that my mom did, she was working 2 jobs. She'd go from one job, have an hour in between, go to her second job, get home at 1 a.m, like, you know, and she did everything she could just to provide and to make sure that her kids were educated. And that's one thing that my mom always stressed to us 3. I want you guys to be educated because nobody can take that from you.
Yeah,
That's so true.
And it's facts,
God,
you
your
know.
mom just sounds like a
know?
lion, man.
Yeah, she is. That lady, whew.
Is she still alive?
Yeah, she is. She
Yep.
is still alive. Yeah.
That's
She's
awesome.
alive and kicking.
Good.
But yeah, so
So you kind of started to experiment a little bit through your teen years.
so
and-
you know, at 12 was like my first time, and then I didn't really dip and dabble too much, and then you know, come to about probably about 17, I started toking here and there. You
Yeah.
know, me and my best friend would go and smoke a joint, and you know, like you're still learning how to smoke and hold it in. You know,
Yeah,
like,
right.
you know, you're not like you're wasting it and shit. You know, so you know, I got to that point, like we just smoke, and then smoking started to get more. I got a little bit more serious with smoking, and that was like my thing. I like
Yeah.
getting stoned, you
Yeah.
know, and drinking not too much. I mean, I drank, you know, parties. We had family parties. I'd turn up with my family. I get drunk, you know, but it was never like an everyday thing. It wasn't my go-to. Like me, I prefer to smoke, you
Yeah.
know, and so come down 19. Coming to 19, I met my rest in peace, my ex-husband, who was an addict
Okay.
himself. This is a little hard for me to talk about.
Take your time.
You know, I went through a lot with him. You know, he was very abusive, and you know, he used to beat on me, and he used to rape me, and he put me through a lot of shit, you know, a lot of shit. You know, I had gotten pregnant by him, and I remember him beating the shit out of me, and I had a miscarriage. And, you know, so young, you know, so young, so you don't know, you know, and at that time, I kind of, when I was married to him, kind of had falling out with my family because of, you know, news that was brought to surface about the molestation stuff. And my family was just, you know, they were just like, what the fuck? Wait, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
So at that time, I mean, step back a couple steps. At that time, the raving scene was hitting hard.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the first times that I started dipping and dabbling into ecstasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for about a year and a half and go to raves on the weekend.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a rave and do it overnight.
Yeah, I
and,
got into that
you know,
stuff too.
yeah. So I was dropping ecstasy, you know, on the weekends. And I was starting to find, you know, a year and a half later, I was starting to find that I never liked uppers. Like I never tried uppers. The ecstasy that I would get usually was heroin based.
Yeah.
And I was seeing that I really enjoyed the downer, which is very scary.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I'm not surprised though. You know, I'm like, well, shit, maybe that's genetics. Who knows? I don't know. So, you know, I did that for about a year and a half, partying with my ex-husband. And then I remember, you know, my sister and I, one day we were rolling hard and, you know, we were in the bathroom and we both looked in the mirror and we were so fucked up. Like our eyes, you know, you get that sway, that droop, you know,
pupils, dude, your eyes are black.
Yeah, it's just, and I looked and I was like, oh, fuck. And I looked at her and I go, damn, we look like Dad when he's loaded. And I go, and I looked at her, I said, we're not touching this shit anymore. And from that day forward, we never rolled again. We left it alone. She's like, you know, she's my little sister. That's my
That's
partner,
so scary,
you know?
man.
It is, you know, and I was just happy that, you know, she made the decision, but we both did, to just leave that shit alone.
Yeah.
Well, once my ex-husband at the time found out that we didn't want to do that anymore, he was not stoked because that was like his thing. He liked to get high. I mean, he was into crack, smoking crack, and I didn't know that at the time until I started seeing and finding things. I'm like, what is this? You know, like, oh shit, you know, you're like deeper than I thought. So, you know, with all the abuse and all the stuff that he put me through, there came a time like I was 20. And I got into I was in college at the time and my little sister was getting ready. I left my husband. My little sister was getting ready to move in with me. And I remember, you know, he was coming around with guns and shit and threatening me. I was a dancer at the time, an exotic dancer, a stripper.
Yeah.
So if you like say, I heard you talking about that. I was a stripper. I had to make that money. So, you know, at the time that the clubs that I was working at, you know, he would stalk me and it was getting really bad. So I literally had to move in the middle of the night. I had to get a moving truck.
I was going to ask you that.
Have some homies come help me load up my truck with all my furniture. And in the middle of the freaking night, I had to relocate myself so that this guy would not find me, because that's how much he lost his fucking mind. You know,
he was trying to kill you.
Yeah, he was like, if I can't have you, nobody else can. Like, and you know, I'm 20 years old. This is I'm like, what the fuck? This is scary shit for me, you know?
For real.
And I knew I had to get away from it. I knew that this wasn't the life that I wanted. I didn't want, you know, and he was gangster too. And I was like, God, I'm repeating the cycle here. I need to this isn't going to work. This isn't what I want for myself. Like, and you know, I'm trying to educate myself, putting myself through college. Like, I'm like, I got to do something else. So, you know, I ended up dancing. I put myself through college, me and my little sister, and we got a spot in Long Beach. And so I'm still dancing this time. This is how I'm paying for everything. And while dancing, I met an ex-boyfriend of mine who he was a celebrity in Hollywood, and big celebrity, you know, and meeting him, like, it was a game changer. You know, he was 20 years plus older than me. He schooled me on so much. He instilled so much wisdom in me, and he guided me through a lot of things in my life, you know. Awesome. And we had a beautiful relationship. We were together for 7 years, and you know, I thought that was the person I was going to marry. You know, like, you know, I was, you know, I was
opposite of your past relationship.
Yeah. Because at that time, like, I don't know, you know, I feel I'm an old soul, and you know, I recognize shit very quickly. Like, I'm like, no, you know, like,
not what you want.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
like red flags, you know, that I'm good.
And then you listen to it though. Like
Yeah.
you actually do something about it, which is huge.
That's what I was just going to say
Yeah.
too. Hearing this story, you have a lot of good intuition and strength to do it, because a lot of times people see something and bad something and they just kind of, oh, this is my life.
Sweep it under the rug
totally.
or turn the other way.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that. Like, to me, my happiness is everything. And I demand respect and I give it, you know, and
for sure.
I'm not going to have somebody, you know, controlling my decisions, my life, you know, like I'm going to create my own, you know, happiness here and my own successes.
So this guy that you were with for 7 years, you don't have to say his name, but was he an actor?
Oh, I'll definitely say his name. You know, God rest his soul, Michael Clark Duncan. If you ever watched The Green Mile.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, or Armageddon. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Dude, I fucking love that guy.
Yeah. It's funny.
The Green Mile is seriously one of my favorite movies.
I know. I can't watch that one too often.
So you were with him for 7 years?
Mm-hmm. So
wow.
You'll, you know, if you pull up, I probably shouldn't say this, but you pull up, Google that, and you know, you'll see me all back in the day. You know, it's good. It was just a lot of growth, a lot of red carpet events, and great time. You know, and he just molded me, helped me. He schooled me on how to be a chameleon in situations, you know, because I was so young. You know, I met him, I was 21, and like, so, you know, he caught me at my prime, you know, like, here, this is how you do this, you know, this is how you present yourself. And, you know, growing up in the hood and, you know, certain things, you know, and here I am now on the red carpet and you get a mic put in your face. Hey, didn't you know? And you're like, oh, you know, he was like, here, this is how you do this. This is how you assassinate this. And this is how, if somebody comes at you hot, this is how you address it, you know? Wow. And, you know, and that really helped me in life, you know, till this day. Like, I'm so grateful for that because he helped me have a very strong voice with things. And, you know, he showed me, like, you know, you got to speak up, you know, a closed mouth doesn't get fed, you know, and you're already a beast. So, you know, you gotta let your shine.
Do you think though that, like, cause you're creating a persona, right? At that point, like, do you think that plays into the addiction side of your life?
So I think while being with him, you know, he never drank, he never touched drugs. And at that time, I smoked a little bit of herb. My herb smoking slowed down a lot with him because he hated me being stoned. You know, he didn't like it. So I try to hide it from him. Or when I went to go visit my little sister, you know, her and I would smoke a bowl. Well, I'm gonna rip that shit up, girl. So, you know, so I would do things like that and then make sure that, like, I was good. My eyes weren't bloodshot by the time I went back home, you know? So, and then, like, he knew I liked to drink here and there at that time. You know, he'd come to my family functions and we'd do family party, you know, the never ending parties. So I'm like, we got a party this weekend. He loved my family. They loved him. And, you know, I would drink and he would drive and it was fine, you know, but that's when I started to notice, you know, my drinking pick up a little more the older I got. You know, I'd go to clubs more often and drink a little bit more. And I didn't know then, but I know now looking back, I'm like, well, shit, I was never able to have like a couple drinks. I like to, like, if I drank, I was turning up. You know what I mean? I wasn't just going to
beast mode.
I wasn't about to, you know, just drink a glass of wine. Like, give me the bottle, bring it on. So, but I didn't recognize that as an issue then, you know, because I wasn't drinking every day.
Well, and the thing, and I went through the same thing, and the social culture at that time is that was super acceptable. Binge drinking, you know, I mean, you weren't going out just to dance and do this. You're going out to get completely fucked up.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. I was in the same mindset, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, and then the heartbreak came, you know, I found out that, you know, I found he was cheating on me and that it was devastating because here in my mind, I thought, like, I'm going to have, you know, this beautiful life with this man and, you know, like, you know, he spoiled me. He's whatever I wanted, you know, I didn't have to work anymore, you know, but he supported me through everything. I got my degree in interior design. He was at my college graduation, front row seat, rooting me on. Like, he was just my biggest cheerleader, you know, always supporting me, always having me do better. Like, you know, he spoiled me, you know, get me a brand new car. I graduated from college, got me a brand new car. And then, 3 months later, it's my birthday, and he takes me to the car dealership. Here, get whatever you want. Like, he pampered me.
That's crazy.
And I wasn't used to that. Like, shit, my first car, I had to buy my own car. I had to work my ass off to pay for my own.
Was that hard for you to accept that kind of stuff?
It was because I was always like, shit, what I owe you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
What do I owe
Do you think that he had strings attached to that, or?
Absolutely not.
No,
no, not at all. Like, he had so much respect for me as a person, and he just loved he would call me his sunshine. He loved my strength.
Yeah.
He loved everything that I had been through, and he loved that I didn't feel sorry for myself, and I didn't let that stop me.
Yeah.
So at that time, like, I was turning him on to stuff. So UFC was like getting real big. Well, I trained in the martial arts. I did Muay Thai for going 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So, and I did 3 years of jiu-jitsu. I trained with the Gracies. So I got him into doing that stuff too, So it was like we had our thing, like this was our thing. And, traveled the world. He took me to see a lot of places. I got to see a lot of things. I got to meet a lot of different celebrities and these lavish parties. And, then it got to a place, like I said, fast forward, I found out he was cheating, and for me in a relationship, I have no tolerance for that.
Yeah.
And from the day I met him, the first day I met him, we sat and talked for like 4 hours at the club. And he didn't want to go home. He's like, God, I don't want the night was over. Like, get out. You guys got to go. So he brain fart. Sorry.
I know, I kind of had one too.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. So night left. Everybody's got to go. He wants to stay,
the first night you guys met.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that.
You were talking about cheating, and that was probably something along the lines.
Oh yeah. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I made it very clear from the beginning, because my divorce wasn't even finalized yet. I was going through the divorce at that time from my ex. So he knew, like, I shared my entire story with him. Like, this is what I'm going through, this, that, I'm not looking for anything. I'm just, trying to focus on school, my sister, do my thing.
Yeah.
And I told him I just have no tolerance for fucking lying and cheating.
Yeah.
That's one thing about me. Like, you just can't go back from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to live my life looking over my shoulder.
Totally, man. I totally
going through your phone.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't live my life of going through your shit. Like,
and that's just so damn stressful for you, and I totally get that.
It's just not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, and I'm not going to tolerate it. Like, I don't give a shit how much money you have. I don't care, what it is that you can offer me. I'm adamant about respect and loyalty and honesty, and commitment is everything to me.
Yeah.
And so he knew where I was at relationship wise. So, as the time went on and we had this serious relationship, and it evolved from there, it grew and blossomed and morphed into this beautiful thing. And then, we had that setback, and, at that time we were living together, and here I am living, in Woodland Hills in this big mansion, and, I'm driving a Hummer, and I have everything. And I think that at that point, he kind of probably took me for granted, thinking like, I take care of her. So she's not going to go anywhere. She likes this life. It's a beautiful life. Yeah. It's great to not have to stress about finances or what have you, but when I confronted him, his face just like, Mike is black. His face went white, like he's like, oh shit. And I was like, look, I know you're cheating on me. And he made it very clear. It doesn't mean anything. It was just, and it was with multiple, that meant when he was working or traveling, he was doing his thing, and he's like, it didn't mean anything. I'm like, I'm sure it didn't, but it meant something to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'll never forget that day, because that's when things changed. That day I looked at him and I just told him, I gave you a big part of my life. I gave you my heart. I go, on that note, I'm walking away, and it's the last time you're going to see me. And he looked and he's like, no. And I go, I'll pack all my stuff. I'll have movers come and get it. He's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, I'm doing that. I go, whoa. I told you, loyalty is everything. I can't trust you.
Dude, and that's like, it gives me so much respect for you to put all that aside, and stick to your values.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah. And I think that that's where people get so lost, is like when you start to abandon the things that really mean something to you for something that's shallow, I just think that's, and that's a crazy thing about alcoholism too, is it leads you to those things. It makes you do these things that maybe you said you wouldn't do, or things like that. So
For sure.
that's just, I mean, already these 40 minutes that we've been listening to your story, man, my mind is completely blown.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, you are one of the strongest human beings I think I've ever met.
Just to leave something like that and stick with your morals is awesome.
Yeah.
I got cheated on and it was easy to leave, but she wasn't buying me Hummers.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
You were living the lavish life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
So got there, and I'll never forget. I left. I grabbed a bag of stuff and I drove to my sister's in Long Beach, and I told her I'm moving back in. Let's make room. And she's like, "Oh shit," and I'm like, "Yeah," and I never forget. He called my mom. He called my mom, and he's like, he's call my mom, you gotta send her back. My mom's like, Mike, you fucked up.
Yeah, right.
My daughter's she's like, I'm sorry, my daughter's grown, she's gonna make her own decisions, and she made it clear to you that that's one thing she won't tolerate, and come on, you got to talk to her. And at that time I'm 27, and I'm like, there's no talking. It was a wrap. Well, long story short, in the end we ended up being best friends.
That's awesome.
Like we in the beginning, that first year and a half, it was hard, because I had to go and pack my shit, and he had to see me drive off, and it was a heartbreak because I saw a future with this man, and now everything's changed now, right? Everything's different now. So the partying started getting a little bit more intense, and I started hitting the clubs more, and having a good time, getting back out there, and I'm like, fuck it, taking trips, cruises, and me and my sister, she had just broken up with her boyfriend of 7 years as well, so her and I are freshly on the market, and we're just we weren't looking, but my sister's a little, she's a little bad motherfucker, she's a little beauty, and we're just out there just having a good time, just enjoying life, toking a joint, and, drinking it up, and so we, like I said, we ended up being friends in the long run, and it took about 1.5 years to get there, 2 years maybe, and we always, throughout that 1.5 years, 2 years, he would call me and check on me, and and we even went on a couple dates after that. It just wasn't the same. He could see it. He goes, "You don't look at me the same," and I said, "And I never will."
And you can't.
I go, "Because I don't respect you anymore. That's gone." I go, you did something that can never be repaired. So kudos to those who hang in there and move forward with that, because that takes a lot, to have to look at somebody in the face that has basically spit on you. I just can't do it.
It's tough, man. That's for sure. I don't know if I could do it either. I've actually never been cheated on, at least not that I know of. So I'm not sure how I would deal with that situation, but
hopefully you never have to go through that. Ashley's great, she won't, but just saying,
it's no fun.
It's not awesome.
No, it's not. It's that, I think, in itself will tear you up, and especially with me, I started suppressing. I started going out drinking, didn't talk about it much, just trying to move forward in life. And, I'm good, I'm straight, and just, doing my thing. And then I started traveling back and forth to Austin, Texas. And I got back into dancing again because 2008, I had my business with interior design, but that literally just dried out because our economy 2008 hit. Everything went to shit. Nobody had money. I'm like, fuck, what do I do? So I attempted getting into bartending first, and I did all right with bartending, but it wasn't the money that I needed to get through. I'm like, this isn't gonna suffice. I need more. I need to do more. So I'm like, fucking, I'm gonna get back into dancing. So I started travel dancing. So I started going to Austin. I'd work at the clubs in Austin. I'd book a room. And I just did this on a whim, just because I had a conversation with a girl at a club back in LA. And she was like, girl, you need to go to Austin. You'll make all that money off the men. I'm like, really? I'm like, Austin, Texas? She's like, yeah. I'm like, huh.
Okay.
So I booked a ticket, got a room, flew out there, went for a week by myself, went to different clubs. I made it a regular regimen. I'd go out there, make $5,000-$7,000 in a week, come back home, post up for a month, 2 months, and then book another trip.
Wow.
So then I started extending the trip to 2 weeks. And then I started bringing my homegirls with me, I had a little crew, let's go, let's just go make this money. There's money out there, because LA, there was nothing. The clubs were horrific. If you weren't, I hate saying this, but if you weren't sucking and fucking and
Yeah.
doing all the dirt, then you ain't making no money, you know, like, and I wasn't about that life. Like me, I'm like, shit, I'm too cute to have to do any of that, you know, like you're going to pay me just because I'm cute, you know, but, you know, aside from all that, you know, so I did that for 3 years, 27 to 30. And then in that time frame, I met my ex, and he was a manager at the titty bar. So
is this your ex-husband?
no, this is he's long gone. Yeah,
Okay.
he's long gone from my 20s, because then I met Mike.
Gotcha. So
And that's the thing. That's another thing that I didn't point out. I've always been in long relationships.
Yeah.
Like with my ex-husband, 5 years. Mike, 7 years. My ex that I'm going to talk about right now, 5 years. Like, so I've always put time into these men that have fucking, you know, did me dirty.
Yeah.
And, you know, that right there, boom. You know, it scars you, but it don't bother me. I'm good. You know, you just got to move forward, you know, and that's the mindset that I have. You know, you got to be strong. You got to move forward. You always got to wear a face.
Yeah. And all the while that stuff's just permeating your subconscious.
You know,
and,
but you don't want to talk about it. You don't, you know, because that's what I know. That's how I was brought up. You don't talk about it. You move forward. You don't let that shit slow you down. It's fine.
Time heals all wounds.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, it's like, does it?
No, not in my opinion.
Right. So, during that 3 years of me going back and forth, I met my ex and finally decided to make a move. I turned 30. I said, fuck it. I'm going to move away from home. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to get out, see what it is, you know, like that was another thing in our family. Nobody ever moved away. Yeah. You know, family, like we stay together, you know, we all stay. And I feel kind of like I was a bit of a black sheep, you know, in my family, or more like, I don't know, or I just didn't give a shit. I mean, like, you know, I love you guys. I love you over there. You know, I'll come back. It was easy for me to just get on the plane and fly back home, you know? And I just knew that I had to make a life for myself. And, you know, I often ask myself, was I running? Was I running from the pain that I had been through with the ex-husband, with Mike, with different things that I have harbored? I'm just trying to relocate, new vision here, you know, new view, you know, it's not the same thing that I'm seeing around me. I don't know, you know, and so I end up moving out to Austin with this dude for 5 years. He ends up being a chump, waste of time. That's my last breath. Won't even talk about that one. He's not worth the energy. Yeah. And, so then come 5 years, him and I were living together, but we were living in separate rooms. So for like 6 months, I was living on one side of the house. He's living on the other. It was a fucking horrible situation. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but we had to do that in order for me to figure out like my. You
guys had broken up at that point?
Yeah. So we were living together, but not together.
Gotcha. And just doing it for the financial side of it, basically.
Right. Like on my end, especially because I'm like, oh shit, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to move back to LA?
Right.
You know, because that's my home, right? Or am I just going to go get a spot and make my life here for myself? But then on the flip, I had no family there. I had, you know, so in those times of breakups, the lonesomeness, the sadness, you know, you're fucking grieving pretty much. Like, fuck, here I go. I was with this dude 5 years. He asked my mom and dad for my hand, never follows through, never proposes. And I'm like, how the fuck do you go ask my family, you know, my mom and dad for my hand, and then never ask me,
never
you know?
Do anything
never, nothing. So every time that I called my family, they were like thinking, oh shit, it's the phone call. It's a phone call, you know? So all that just kind of caught up to a place where I'm like, I just can't. I keep putting time into these men. I knew what I wanted out of life. I wanted a family. I wanted marriage. I wanted commitment. You know, I wanted kids. And I'm like, you know, I just can't do this anymore. I'm getting older now. You know, at this time, I'm 35, you know, and I'm like, shit, I'm getting older, you know, like clock's going to start ticking in a bit. And so, you know, the 5 years that I was there, I'm figuring out, you know, at that time, the last 2 years of me being out there with him, I got back into bartending and I stopped dancing. And, or the last 3 years, should I say. So I started bartending at the titty bar, made great money, just doing what I got to do. And then got to a place where I was 90% moving back to LA. You know, I'm like, I'm moving back to LA. figuring it out. This is what I'm going to do. Well, lo and behold, look who walks into the bar. I'm bartending, and, my brother from another mother, the one who introduced my husband and I, he's a bartender as well. So he bartended day shift and I bartended night shift. So I would come in to relieve him, to get him off so I could come in on my night shift. So basically he's scooting out of the well, I'm scooting in. And so as I'm coming in there, who do I see come up to the bar? My boy's closing out and he's closing him on, and it's my husband. And he walks off and I look at my brother, I'm like, who's that? And let me put it out there. So my brother from another mother, Jamie's son, he hated my ex. So like he just wanted me to be happy. He's like, dude, you're a fucking good girl.
Anybody but him.
Yeah, he just hated him. He knew he was a piece of shit and he hated him. And he's like, he wanted me to be happy. He's like, you're just fucking a real one. You need to be happy and shit. And I'm like, so this, Morgan walks off after paying his tab. And I tell, my brother from another, who's that? He's like, why? Oh, like, he's like, to me, my crush was always Paul Walker.
Okay.
And I was like,
dude, I freaking love that dude.
Yeah,
I was like super, super upset when he passed away.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah.
So was I. Heartbroken. So I was like, he's like in the category of Paul Walker hot. He's like, oh yeah? And I'm like,
Did you ever meet Paul Walker?
No, I never got a chance to meet Paul Walker.
Oh,
I know that probably was a good thing, man. No, Mike probably would have whooped his ass because he's a big dude. He didn't play. So he comes up and he closes his tab with Jamie and he walks off, and I make the comment to Jamie about that. And then he comes back up to, I guess, I don't know, shake Jamie's hand, say bye, whatever. And Jamie's like, hey, this is my little sister. He introduced us. Hi, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Whatever, right? Well, my brother from another goes and gives Morgan my phone number without telling me. Doesn't even ask permission. And I get this text the next day. And I'm like, he's like, hey, it's me, Morgan. I met you yesterday. Da, da, da. I'm like, how'd you get my, I'm like, I know how you got my number. And he's like, I was just wondering if you want to, meet up for a drink before you clock in or whatever. Sure, cool. Well, there it was.
Yeah.
From that day forward, Morgan and I were inseparable.
That's amazing.
And he knew that I was getting ready, contemplating moving back to LA because he knew what I was going through. And at the time, he was going through this terrible, fucking ugly, trying to evict his ex out of his home at the time. Yeah. It was nasty, really messy. So, we're both not looking for anything. We're just, chilling, hanging out. Created this really great foundation, this great friendship with each other. And we're it was just so authentic. Yeah. And so it came from such just a place of serenity, just a peaceful place. He was my safe place, and he was just a good time.
You guys are both going through some serious bullshit in your lives and kind of were able to use each other as sounding boards.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I taught him how to play shuffleboard, and we're just at the bars. And during this time, it's all involving drinking, because being in the industry, that's what you do.
And you guys are you guys down on 6th Street in Austin? Is that
so? Right, there is that 6th Street in Austin, but the titty bars are on the outskirts of it, but close by. Morgan did work in downtown though, right next to 6th Street. So he used to work in the high-end restaurants, bartending. So if the bartenders downtown everywhere, you got the hookup everywhere. So everywhere you're walking in. Drinks. You know what I mean? It's the world that you live in when you're in that industry. And so, we started hanging out and getting to know each other. And, I remember right during that time, I don't know, a week later, I had this real nasty fight with my ex. I'm still living with him. So I just bought a ticket and I went to LA for a month. And I took a break from work. I had got into it with the owner at that time, and I just, fuck this, I'm out. So I guess Jamie told Morgan, hey, Irene left back to LA. He's like, what? Like, what the hell? So I leave for a month. Well, I come back because now coming back, I'm thinking, okay, I got to pack my shit up and get ready to move back right? LA, So as I come back, I remember my ex picking me up. This is when I knew that my ex and I just hated his guts. He picked me up from the airport. And like we got in the car and like he tried to like kiss me and I just looked at him and I was just like, you disgust me. You're just a terrible human being. Like you're a fucking liar. You're terrible. He too was cheating, but at the time I didn't know. All that shit didn't come to surface till after I left him. Later, Everybody wanted to come out. Hey, he was cheating on you. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Cool.
Hey,
yeah, that's super helpful now. Appreciate it.
Right?
Yeah, could have told me like 5 years ago.
Thank you so much. Right? But it is what it is. And so I remember we drive back home. He left to work. I got in my car and I said, fuck it, I'm going to go to, where I worked at, the titty bar I worked at. Went, sat at the bar. I was like, I'm going to get fucked up tonight. And at the time, one of my boys, Sam, he was a tow truck driver. Okay. So I used to get fucked up. I used to call him. He used to load my vehicle up on his shit. God. Take my shit perfect. Home and right? Serious, hey, I didn't, drinking and driving.
If I didn't know Morgan, I'd be like, dude, you should have married that guy.
Morgan knows Sam, but he's like, man,
that's hilarious.
Genius,
and he
right?
would do it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's awesome.
That was one great thing. Like I had like a great circle of friends there. I've always had. My circle has always been dudes.
Yeah.
I grew up with a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So it's just natural. Like
Well, your mentality is definitely a lot more masculine than feminine, for sure.
Definitely,
yeah.
Right? And so I used to have my boy, come pick my shit up and he'd take me home and
that's amazing.
He'd park my car up on the driveway and I'll see you tomorrow.
We used to put fold-up scooters in our trunk.
Oh, there's that.
And
I rode a scooter drunk before. It didn't
go well.
I went flying across the pier. It wasn't a good look. So that's a whole nother story.
Right. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, just a little bit later. So I'm at the bar getting, fucking just pounding him down. And then Jamie, he was bartending. That's why I went to go see him and let him know, hey, I'm back, And then I guess Morgan walks in and he's all, hey, look who's at the bar. And we're just like, oh, shit, she's back. So Morgan came and sat next to me. And we're just partying all night. And I don't know, we somehow ended up sucking each other's face that night. And, it was just, we just had great chemistry.
Yeah.
And he just we started hanging out on a regular regimen, but not just in the bar, we were going to eat, we're going, out to do things. And I really enjoyed his company and vice versa. There was just a mutual respect there, and there was never nothing. I never felt like he wanted anything from me. There was never no motive.
Yeah.
He was just so authentic with everything, and I just love that about him.
Yeah.
And his beautiful face, so
he does have a good looking face.
He does. His puppy dog eyes, that stole my heart. The little droop.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's melt my heart.
I gotta say this while you're talking about your relationship. You guys' relationship has been really inspirational to me over the past year in sobriety, and you can just tell, just being around you guys, there is that deep mutual respect.
For sure.
And it's really cool.
For sure.
So I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's work.
Well,
it's not
you
easy.
Guys. No, it
it's
isn't.
Not easy.
But it takes honesty, and vulnerability. And,
absolutely.
Communication. And I just feel like you guys do a really good job with all that.
Thank you. We try. And so, at this point we're hanging out and, Morgan's like, I was telling him, I'm thinking about moving back to LA. He's like, you can't do that. Not with what we got going on here. Yeah. You can't do that. And I'm like, I don't know, and well, I ended up not doing it, and I ended up getting my own spot, and our relationship, evolved and grew and blossomed, and here we are, just going along in life and just partying. I'm bartending, he's bartending, and we're just enjoying life. I had my own spot. It's so funny, I went and rented. I had a roommate and rented a spot, and it was like, what was the point? I think I stayed there once in 6 months, to store my shit, because exactly. Morgan was like, Morgan lived really close to my job at the time, to the club, literally 1 minute away. Wow. So, especially when you're partying and drinking, it's the convenience too.
Absolutely.
But he lives so close that it's convenient. Him and I were partying all night or whatever, and we just go straight to his place and crash out. Or we were hanging out throughout the day, that he was just like, bring a bag of your stuff and let's just hang out. And so that we got rid of that apartment after about 6-7 months. We terminated that and moved in with Morgan, and here we go, creating this beautiful life together. And Morgan was always a drinker, and I was a drinker too. Like I said, I couldn't just have a couple. I turned up with him, we were right there, both neck and neck. I had my blackout moments and he had his, and we always, him and I, it's so funny. We never bickered, fought,
That's
anything
what I was going
like
to
that.
ask. Like
the only time I could count it 5 times on my hand that him and I have had like bickering fights is when I drank tequila or whiskey. Tequila or whiskey.
Oh my gosh.
That I would become so saucy.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm already saucy. So that would like amplify my sauciness. And like, that would be the only time. But aside from that, we've been together a little over 10 years. There's 5 times and they always involved alcohol.
Yeah.
It was always alcohol stemmed.
Yeah.
And so, here we go down life and we start getting a little more serious, and our commitment, it's on its journey. We're doing the damn thing. We're traveling, we're doing things together, having a good time. And we get to a real serious place where he knew I wanted to get married, have kids. So I told him from the get-go, don't waste my time.
Yeah.
I want marriage, I want commitment. If you're not ready for that, I'm going back to LA.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to put no more time into men. Here I am putting 5 years, 7 years, this, that. Like I'm over all that. Getting older, my clock's ticking. This is where I'm at. This is what I want. If you can't offer that to me, it's all good. No hard feelings, but I'm on my way.
Yeah.
So he's like, no. I can offer that to you. I'm like, sweet. So about 3 years in to our relationship, we find out we're pregnant with the little girl. And, that one, it took me down, we're so happy. We find out when, Morgan wanted a little girl too. Yeah. He's like so stoked. And, I'm almost 5 months and, I start spotting. So, he picks me up from work and takes me to the ER. And I remember being in there, and at that time they, the nurse was just like, oh, you're just having a little leaking, nothing to be worried about. At least that's what I heard. And then when the doctor came in, like, we're going to admit you. I'm like, well, wait, what's going on? Well, they'll talk to you once they get you in. We got to get you set up in a room. I'm like, okay. I'm fucking scared, and Morgan's scared, and I'm like, shit. We get upstairs, and then we're in that room, and the doctor comes in, and she's you're leaking amniotic fluid. I said, well, what does that mean? She goes, that means that your baby can't survive. And I said, okay, so what does that mean? That you can't save my baby's life? I'm 5 months pregnant, I'm like, oh, what do you mean? It wasn't registering yet, and, I had to go through what's crazy is it was my dad's birthday that day, and I had to go through delivery and deliver her. And, Jesus. I got to hold her, she's so little, I got to hold her, but, at that time, I started questioning why, everything that I had been through in my life. Why did that happen? And, it was such a terrible delivery that I was going through that I almost died. I needed a blood transfusion, and they had to take me into immediate surgery and scrape me out to remove everything so the sac didn't come out.
Right.
So they had to take me in, and I guess when doing that, I was just losing a lot of blood. So I was in the hospital for about 10 days.
Jesus Christ.
And that was one of the hardest things that I think I ever went through. And to get back out and just go on with life, I think I never mourned that. And I noticed my drinking it got a little deeper, My drinking just got a little more. Morgan and I, he such a good man. Like we just try to go on with life, and it was very traumatizing. It scarred the shit out of me, the nightmares, the waking up screaming and crying, and just lucky enough to have him comfort me and be there for me. And Like you don't know how to handle those things until
you're in the middle of
yeah,
it.
yeah, and even then, like, how do you do this? Like, I don't have any tools. And then I didn't have like my family there, so my mom flew out, and my mom stayed with me for a couple weeks and took care of me. She's godsend, and she helped me get through the emotions and told me, "Don't worry, you'll be a mama soon. Don't worry," and just just one day you have this and the next day it's gone, and how do I maneuver through this, and I had to dig deep, and I didn't seek therapy or anything. I probably should have right after something like that, and I didn't, because why? We don't do that.
Well, not
we're
not there.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't,
and I don't think we're there as a society either.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that goes back to how I was brought up. You don't go to therapy. You don't do that. You deal with it. You'll be all right. You're strong enough. You're strong. And when you're constantly getting told how strong you are, you feel like, oh, well, I can get through this by myself.
Right.
I can do anything. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I just, went on about life, and, Morgan and I just did our thing. We worked and just went through life, and, we talk about her all the time. And I have a memory tattoo.
What's your name?
Amor Vida. So the Amor Vida means the love of my life.
I was going to say, I think it's the love of my life, right?
It is. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. So, we're just moving forward. And like I said, she was born on my dad's birthday. So then, that's a little, that day comes up. And then now with my dad being gone, it really is like, it stings. But I try to do positive things in that sense of like having my kids. They know that they have an older sister, and I have them release balloons for them. And,
awesome.
We do have like a cupcake celebration for her so that, like she knows she's never forgotten, like ever.
Yeah.
And,
that's awesome, man. Like, that's really cool that you guys still honor her too to this day. Like, I think my mom, I'm like 90% sure my mom had a miscarriage, but it's something that we didn't really ever talk about.
Because,
so it's like I should have an older brother or sister or something, but yeah, I just think that's really cool that you guys honor her, and I love her name. That's beautiful.
Thank you. And so, we're going on with life, and then,
so during this time too, I'm assuming that you guys are probably masking that pain.
Absolutely. There's a lot of partying going on, a lot of drinking. I never meddled into drugs, like hardcore drugs. Like I said, I dipped and dabbled with ecstasy back when I was 19, 20. I always smoked herbs, so I was a stoner, and I drank. And so a lot of smoking herbs and a lot of drinking, and so I did that, and just went about living life and smoked a shit ton of cigarettes. And then like a year later, I find out I'm pregnant again.
Oh my gosh.
And now it's my rainbow baby. And the doctor tells me, so I lost Amor on January 31st. So the doctor, when I go in, she's like, oh, okay, so you're pregnant. And I knew I was pregnant because I was sick as shit. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I'm definitely
so,
pregnant.
it's crazy because when you're partying and drinking and smoking and doing, eating edibles and getting stoned, but I started vomiting and I was like, oh, I'm not feeling right. I think I'm pregnant. I just had that gut feeling. So I just went cold turkey on everything. And Morgan's like, fuck, that's like gangster.
Yeah,
Usually, how do you do that? I'm like, I have a baby growing in me. Like, this ain't no joke, and I've always wanted to be a mom. So I'm like, I don't need that shit.
Yeah.
I want to be a mama, And so I remember going to the doctor's office, and she's all, so your due date is January 31st.
Oh my gosh.
And I was all, oh shit, right? And
That's
I was
crazy.
like, and to me, so I don't, if my husband, he doesn't believe in God.
Yeah.
But I do.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. That's that's where I was brought up, and I always believe in my higher power. And so I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Dude, and it's stuff like that like there's been so many instances like that in my life that I'm like, this is completely unexplainable. And it happens around this podcast all the time.
Yeah.
Just these spiritual things that happen, these connections that get made,
For sure.
So that's cool.
Yeah. So so I find out I'm pregnant with Jackson, and here we go. We're on this journey again, and I was high risk pregnancy. So I had to right away. I think it was like maybe 4 months into working. The owner was like, honey, I don't want you working. Like, you need to be off your feet. Like, I don't want you, you know, cause he knew what I went through with Amor, that he's like, can't do this, you know. I'm like, okay, you know. So I stayed at home and rested a lot, and had Jackson. And then it just made sense at that time to be a stay-at-home mom with, do we pay money for a sitter? This, like, dude, the money just, it just didn't make sense. And I didn't want somebody else raising my kids. And if we could, you know, Morgan started working 2 jobs. And if it meant that he had to go work 2 jobs to provide for us so that I can raise, you know, our child, then so be it. You know, then that's what it was. I'll hold down the fort, you know, and you come home and, you know, I got it here and you got it there. So
Jackson's birthday? Sorry to back up.
So Jackson's birthday is February 2nd. So it was July 31st. He would have been June 31st, January 31st. Oh my God.
One of those J months.
One of the J months, right? January 31st. But I had them, so they had to induce me. So I asked my doctor to give him February 2nd. I was like, can you give him February 2nd? Because I want him to have his own day. I don't want him to be in the light of his sister. Not that would have been an issue, but like, it was already my dad, my little girl.
That makes sense.
I wanted
to
give him.
And if you have the choice, I think that's, you know.
So I was like, can we do it like this day? And she's like, absolutely. So
that's cool.
That's why we gave him that day.
That's awesome.
So, so, you know, I'm doing the stay at home stuff. And at this time, you know, Morgan's still, you know, he's hitting the bottle hard. He's drinking because he's working, bartending 2 different spots. So he's in between his shifts. He's going to the bar and, you know, at the bar, working at the bar, he's drinking. So he's coming home shit faced and, you know, so, and I wasn't drinking. I didn't drink like that at that time because I'm a mom, you know, I'm nursing. I'm just doing mom things.
Did that cause any issues between you guys?
It didn't.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. I mean, there was times, I mean, I'd get frustrated with him because he'd be too shit-faced to hold the baby, you know, but it didn't. That's who I knew who I married.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I knew who I met. I knew we weren't married at that time. We were on our way to get married.
You were able to rationalize
Yeah, but
it.
I knew like, this is what I signed up for. I knew like, you know, I didn't meet somebody who's straight, you know, like he likes to party and there's not, to me.
Well, that's probably part of the reason you were attracted to him.
Yeah. Like we have a good time. There's no judgment, you know, there's no judgments here. Like you like to party, I like to party. And so it got to a point though that we got married and Jackson was 6 months at the time. We had a big wedding, beautiful wedding out in La Jolla, had all my family, all his family. And, you know, we went to Italy for 3 weeks for a honeymoon and fucking him and I turned the fuck up out there. I mean, lots of wine and cheese and liquor and you name it. It was a great time. Well, I got pregnant on that trip too. And I come back. So I got pregnant on my honeymoon with Santana, my little girl. And so her and Jackson are 18 months apart. And
that's awesome.
She is a force to be reckoned with.
Well, yeah, dude, look at her mom.
Yeah, she is sassy. Yeah. She is like me times a million, not even times 10. Like,
dude, I think about that with my kids because my wife is pretty stubborn. And I am very stubborn, you know, and I see it in my kid. My 4-year-old son is like, you can't tell him to do anything. You know, and I'm like, dude, you're 4. Like, I'm trying to help you, man.
Nope, you don't. That's Santana. Santana's like that. You don't tell me. I'm gonna tell my daddy. She's a daddy's girl. So I'm like, girl, tell your daddy.
I love that.
What's your daddy gonna do? He's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, she's got it wrapped around her finger.
Yeah, she does though. She does. She's good at it too. So you know, here we go. We're having, you know, baby number 2. We're in Austin, Texas. We have no family. Morgan's born and raised Fort Collins. All his family's here. All my family's back in LA. Mm-hmm. So, you know, life is changing. Things are changing. I'm not bartending anymore. My circle has really went from this to this now. You know, Morgan and I were always hosting parties and doing the damn thing. And now, you know, we got kids. We're not doing that anymore. Yeah. Things have, you know, we're living in a different light now, you know? So like I've noticed, you know, my circle of friends just diminishing. Yeah. And the real ones come forward, you know, the real ones stick and the other ones just, you know,
kind of fade away.
Yeah, just, you know, no hard feelings, but just, you know, that we're just in 2 different journeys, 2 different places in our life, you know, like they're still doing it.
And dude, kids turn that side of your life off so quick.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, without doubt. And me, I'm all about family. My family is everything to me. And so, now I'm a stay-at-home mom with 2 littles, you know, so I have 2 in diapers, you know, Morgan's working, I'm at home, I don't have any help. And he's working 2 jobs, so he's gone all day. So I'm there with 2 little ones, you know, and And it started taking a toll,
Yeah, that's
taking a little
stressful.
toll on me. What happens? Fucking COVID.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Oh,
Dude, I feel like that shit sent everybody
Oh,
into the
man.
bottle.
Man.
COVID happened.
Can't go anywhere.
Can't do shit.
Even
So-
in Texas, were they really?
Oh man, everything
guess-
got shut down.
I guess Austin.
Austin.
It was-
I wouldn't call
Austin's
Austin,
pretty liberal, so
Texas.
yeah.
It was so crazy out there. You couldn't find shit on the shelves. Morgan had to drive around with my brother from another mother for 4 hours to find a gallon of milk. He ended up finding it at the Waffle House. The lady gave it to him because Morgan's like, I need milk for my little girl.
Yeah, for your baby.
And she's like, for your baby? Oh my God, she gave him a gallon of milk. That's how bad it was.
That's
No,
crazy.
like nothing. It was just,
But guess what you could get? Liquor.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Did
Yeah,
you
that
know-
was never an issue.
Did you know this? So I found this out, I don't know, a couple of years after COVID, but so COVID starts, they shut everything down. Literally the next day, they open liquor stores. Do you know why? Because the hospitals couldn't they couldn't manage all of the COVID patients plus all of the people that were going to go into detox.
Oh shit.
So they're like,
Makes
we
sense.
have to fucking open liquor stores.
That makes sense.
So they did. So that's the one thing that you can get access to during COVID.
Sad.
Isn't that fucked up?
It was real fucked up. And so now everything's closing. And Morgan was really like, he was going downhill because he was already yellowing at this time.
Yeah.
And like, shit was just not going.
Was this around the time that he went to the doctor?
Yeah,
and-
yeah. Mm-hmm. And she told him, like, you're
You
about
gotta-
to die if
yeah.
you don't get your shit right. Like, you need to stop drinking. And so we're at home, there ain't shit to do. So Morgan and I, we got 2 little ones. So we're at home playing dominoes, just chilling, trying to make, use of our time at home. We can't go out. We would go on. There's only so many walks you can go on.
Yeah,
we were going
exactly.
on, with the babies. And
Did you guys have a pretty decent sized house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's good.
so that was nice,
Yeah.
to have a comfortable space. We had space. But even so, so we were finding ourselves going on these walks. We go to Lady Bird Lake, take these long little walks. But I never was a day drinker. Like, I do it maybe if it was like St. Patty's Day or something,
Yeah.
but like I never was a day drinker. I never drank at home. I was never one of those people to chill at home and drink. I always had to like be in the environment of like a club or
Yeah.
a bar, like out at a party or something. So liquor stores were open. So we started having handles at home, and I started drinking a little bit here and there. Let's do a shot. All right, let's do a shot. We start, in the morning, have a
Yeah.
shot here and there. Before you know it, 3 PM, 5, 6 shots, feeling great. And, let's go on a walk. We'd stop at the liquor store, buy shooters, put them, in the diaper bag, and we'd be walking, taking a shot. Like,
Yeah.
that's what we were doing, and still there was, we weren't doing it all the time, but, or at least I wasn't doing it all the time, but the liquor tolerance started going up,
Yeah,
like
for
I
sure.
was doing it more often than I should have been doing it. And, so we get to that place where Morgan's hitting his rock bottom. COVID had everything shut down. I have no family there. He has no family there. It's taking a toll on me with me having the little ones. I'm like, I need some help. Like, it's a lot. We're both just in a place of like, fuck,
Yeah,
like
just trying to survive.
yeah. And so, Morgan ended up going to rehab out there and during COVID. So he did like all his treatment plan, IOP over Zoom. So
Yeah.
it was nothing, to me, you need to be like
Yeah,
in touch. It's personal.
I
Like
totally
you gotta,
agree.
you know what
I
I
wish
mean?
that the rehab, I told him multiple times, I'm like, you guys should not have a Zoom option.
Yeah.
That shouldn't
Yeah.
even be an option.
Yeah.
It should be a requirement that people have to be here.
Facts.
That's when I stopped doing counseling too. Was
Yeah, I won't-
when we
During that
started
time.
doing.
I
Zoom,
won't
so
work
just-
with a psychiatrist
that
or
was it.
therapist that does Zoom.
Yeah. It just,
Well, it was right during COVID.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Like you
so
had
I
no
guess you
choice,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you need.
So, and that's, I actually kind of want to highlight that. Like, I don't feel like that had a huge impact for him. Right. Or maybe it did. The Zoom, the rehab facility.
You know what? So I think what had.
God damn it.
Come on.
I put it in Do Not
How
Disturb.
dare you?
Right down a minute
Okay.
16.
Oh, that's good. We listened to this whole thing again. So we'll edit this out. But my wife loves listening to the episodes. She helps me edit.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting here thinking she's gonna freaking
Well,
love you.
tell her to take out
I
the
know,
shit while I'm fumbling over my words.
My wife is too. Dude, my wife's already stubborn. I'm not sure I'm going to let her listen to this one. She's going to get all hardcore on me.
I think she's going to listen to it. She's going to find out eventually.
Oh, yeah, she will. No, I told her, I was like, if you don't listen to every episode, then we're going to have some problems.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
You're good. So, yeah, so
I was just wondering, like, did that have a good impact for Morgan?
So I think where the impact came in was the doctor.
Yeah.
The doctor telling him it was a life or death situation. The doctor straight up told him, she was fucking, I love her. I told Morgan, when we get back to Austin, I just want to pop in there and I just want to hug her because I have a husband because of her.
He actually told us that story too, and it's pretty wild, man. Yeah, she saved his life for sure.
She did. Yeah. She did. I mean, she saved our lives, you know, because he got to a dark place, and I used to be so angry about it, but now I hurt for him in that moment.
It's compassion,
you know,
it's empathy.
Like I was angry because he wanted the easy way out. But at the same time, I wasn't in that mental state where he was at, you know. And
you don't have to speak for him, but was he willing to just drink himself away?
He was going to off himself.
Yeah, he was
just going to go end his life in our backyard, and he was going to let me find him that way. So I was really angry about that because I'm like, you're not going to be fucking selfish.
Did he tell you that?
Yeah. I'm like, you're not going to be fucking selfish. You don't get a check out like that. Yeah. You know, it's what you signed up for. We have a commitment here. You know, we have children. It's not about you. It's about them.
Yeah.
And
you think your mom had some conversations like that to your pops?
I'm sure that she's probably tried, but my dad was so set in his ways. Like you couldn't tell my dad anything. Yeah. You know, you couldn't tell that man nothing. Like he was gonna do what he was gonna do, and that's just it. He'll look at you and he'll straight up just tell you, shut the fuck up. And you're like, well,
so you think about that, like God and guardian angels and all those things. Like your mom prepared you for that moment.
Absolutely.
I know Morgan won't believe it, but
I mean, absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yes, sir. And that's absolutely. And so so when Morgan got that news from the doctor, when she told him straight up, like, you need to stop drinking, your liver is, you're going to be done. In 5 years, you're going to be leaving your wife without. You're going to be fatherless. You're going to be leaving your wife. Like you're done.
And to the listener, this is a fact. If you need a liver, but you're an alcoholic, you're screwed. You're automatically at the bottom of the list.
Yep.
Kidneys too, anything.
Yep. Anything. Mm-hmm.
Anything to do with deprecation like that, they're not going to put you, you know, there's a lot of people that actually need it that didn't fuck themselves up.
My processor's going through it. Her husband's good. He's fine, but they're the ones that need it, not the ones that did it to yourself.
Yeah.
Facts.
So
here we go. You know, he continued to drink for a few more months, and then, you know, the yellowing on him was just, he was diminishing before my eyes. He was getting so skinny. The weight loss was like taking a toll. The depression started kicking in. He started feeling loathing in his feelings and where he was at in life, and not feeling like he was being the best husband, the best provider, father, all those things. You know, he just started being like really eating himself up. Yeah. COVID didn't fucking help because everything shut down. So everything's closed. He can't work. Nothing.
You can't do the one thing that you're like supposed to do. Yep.
And he couldn't do it.
Yeah,
and
I get that for sure.
You know, so he goes into treatment, comes out, and he's working his program via Zoom, different, you know, AA meetings and different things, just around the clock, 24/7. So, you know, that was taking a toll on me because I was having to tend to the kids and I had no help.
Yeah.
You know, because I knew he needed to get right. But at the same time, here I am with two littles, you know, I'm like, I'm struggling. But my drinking still wasn't out of control. Like, even when he went to rehab, I fucking threw out everything out of the house. Because, I'm like, we're not going to have liquor in this house. Like, I don't want him coming back to that. And when he came back, I was a little worried, you know, because he didn't come back my Morgan. He came back in a different headspace. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to handle that, you know, and all I knew, you know, I had talks with my mom. You know, she's like, you got to be a supportive wife. You know, he's trying to work his program. You just got to support him.
Dude, and that's, again, I just want to interject here because to a recovering alcoholic, we've talked about this before, but the support person, it's just that. It's pure support, dude. Like, not about you at all. It's 100% about the addict and what they need, you know, and that's a hard place to be, especially with 2 little kids. And yeah. So I just want to say to like listener, like that is a crazy place to be, you know, try to get somebody the help that they need. I mean, I know for me personally, man, I was like, I told my brother, I'm like, just make these decisions for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't trust myself.
Yeah, for sure.
So
here we go. He gets right. And then, you know, get a little clarity. And him and I just had to talk. And I was at a place where I'm like, fuck, what do we have holding us back here? You know, back in Austin. What do we have here? You know, we got a good little circle of friends, but no family, you know. And I'm like, Morgan's parents are getting older, and I want my kids to have a great relationship with his parents. And, you know, my mom and dad, my dad was still alive at that time, getting older, you know. So we could move to LA or we could move to Fort Collins. Those were the things that were going through my head. And I felt like
Fort Collins, because Morgan's parents were here. Yeah.
And I felt like you know, at that time I had to be the strength and make that decision. You know, I always let my husband wear the pants. Like, he's a man, I let him be a man. But at that time, I think he needed my voice. Yeah. And I told him straight up, I'm like, well, you know, we got to figure this out. Let's move. And he's like, oh shit. And I'm like, I think that this would be the best thing for our family. This is what we need for you, for me, for them.
Yeah. And plus it gives you a little bit of support too.
Absolutely.
With family, you know.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, for sure.
And so I, you know, it was either going to LA or moving to LA or moving here. And LA, it just didn't make sense. It made sense because of my family, right? Yeah. But it didn't make sense as far as financially. Right. You know, what you get in LA, you're going to get literally a fucking shoebox, you know, compared to what you can get out here.
Well, and
it's expensive out here too. Don't get it wrong. But, you know, it's just the traffic, the crazy, the life. Like,
well, I was going to say too, I mean, your family's out there and they're in that gangster life. Like, is that...
So now that has slowed down, right?
Okay.
Because now all the uncles and aunts, gangster life, right? The next generation, all my cousins, it's crazy. Everybody's veering the other direction.
They went the opposite way.
Which is great. Yeah. Which is great because I don't have a lot of, you know, I mean, we have alcoholics for sure, but like as far as hardcore addicts, we don't have a lot of that with my cousins, you know, like they all strayed away from that shit. Cool. You know, they're like, nah, we saw what it did to our family, you know, it's destruction, you know, and so, you know, my family now, it's just everybody, they're still, you know, they're still low riding gangster, but they're not hardcore, you know, and everybody they moved out of the hood to try to get away from that. Everybody has now tried to have like their own unit, their own family. My family's spread out all over LA, you know, from the valley to here to there. Yeah. So, you know, I was like, well, you know, I want to move back and have, you know, not have the space to grow as a family. And then I just thought about sitting in fucking traffic. I hate the 405. Fucking sitting in traffic for fucking 3-4 hours. Like you're, if you think about it and you do the math and you spend 3 hours to get to work one way, 3 hours back, that's 6 hours, right?
To work 8.
6 hours, 5 days a week, 30 hours. You're wasting 30 hours of your life sitting in a fucking car. To get to and fro. A week. That doesn't include the weekends when you want to do shit with your family and you still got to drive across town when it should only take 15 minutes. It's taking you 2 hours. It's stupid. It's stupid. So I took a lot of that into consideration as well because I remember sitting in that shit for hours and I'm like, fuck, I don't want to fucking do that, especially with little ones. Yeah. You know how impatient kids are? Dude, They're like, they're angry, you know, and then I'm angry, you know, they start yelling, I start yelling, you know, shit starts getting real, you know, real quick. And I'm like, oh, no. I don't think that's going to be good. And, you know, I always used to clown Morgan. You know, I always used to tell him, you know, I guess we could move back to your community of 100 people in your small town. You know, because I came from a big city, you know, it's a whole different ballgame, you know. So I was like, I sat down with, you know, Morgan and I was like, why don't we move back to Fort Collins? And he looked at me, he thought I was crazy. He was all, you serious? And I was like, I'm serious. I go, I think it'll be very beneficial for our family, for our kids, how they grow up.
Yeah.
You know, I think that this is the direction I want to go in. And then he's like, I don't know if you're going to like it because it's more of a town, not a city. And he goes,
a little bit granola.
Yeah, a little bit, a little lot. I fucking think I'm one of the only brown girls in my neighborhood.
I was going to say, there's not a ton of diversity around here.
No, there isn't, you know, and so I was like, you know, I think we should go back. And he's like, you know, I don't know, the 4 seasons. I grew up on the beach, you know. He was like, I don't know if you're gonna like the cold, this
snow
and that. And he goes, well, why don't we go back? And we had 2 properties in Austin at the time, the one we lived in and then our rental. And he goes, why don't we move back and rent for a year and see what you think? And then we'll go from there. I said, okay, that sounds like a plan. So we move out here. Morgan gets this real estate license, gets all his shit going. He starts getting in his groove, right? When we move out here, within the first 3 months, I fell in love with it. My favorite part is when it snows. Yeah. Morgan's like, really? Like, people think I'm crazy. I'm like, I love when it snows. I was so mad it didn't snow on Christmas. Okay. I was angry.
I'm like a little kid looking out the window. Like,
I'm like, this is fucking 2 years in a row with no snow. This is bullshit.
It's been a long time. I can't remember the last time we actually had snow on Christmas.
Yeah, I love the snow. I just love the 4 seasons. Yeah. The colors, the trees. Like, to me, this is peace. Tranquility for me. And it's just the slowdown is just. It's just, it's butter. Yeah. I love that. I love being in the moment and not feeling like hectic, crazy. Yeah. You got to sit behind the wheel 4 hours. Like, it takes me 10 minutes to get from here to there. And it's just nice to have time and to cherish those moments with your family. And just, it's nice to have the grandparents so close by. And
dude, California always felt like you're like holding on to an electric wire
on a fucking roller coaster.
Yeah. That's just like
go. It is facts.
Yeah, I used to live in San Francisco, and I only made it about a year.
I'm
like, dude, fuck this. I'm out of here. Plus, it was depressing.
I'm sure the gloominess, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
so you fell in love with Colorado.
Yeah. So we're here, and 3 months in, well. That's when it all, we moved out here. I think things happen so fast for me. This is where shit starts to get real. We get out here. I start to realize I don't have a circle of friends. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have Morgan's friends, but those are Morgan's friends. Right. Like I've always had my own circles, I don't have no friends. I don't have like my family. Yeah, I have my in-laws, but at that time I wasn't very close with them either. I knew them from we got married and them visiting and what have you. But like, you really get to know somebody when you live around them, Yeah. So, I'm having to create these relationships with my new family members. And, I don't have friends and, it's a new environment for me. I'm raising babies. Jackson's about to start school. So I'm getting ready with letting my baby go to school, and that's hard on a mom, if you're that attached to your children, some are like, get the fuck out of here, right? I mean, I'm like, my baby. Yeah, that's how my life is too. Yeah, so, it was different, different environment, different things. I had to learn everything. I had to learn streets, you're learning, I got to learn how to drive in snow, like just everything. It's all different. Even the surrounding itself, just, being around Granola Valley itself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Seeing when I'm not used to seeing. Yeah. I'm not used to looking around and being like, shit, I really stand out here. Why are they looking at me like that? Like, it's just, and Morgan's always clowning. He's like, it's because you're beautiful. I'm like, you're just supposed to say that shit, I'm like, I don't know. They're looking at me like I'm some sort of alien.
Right.
I'm like, I swear I'm not. So, I'm trying to acclimate and get used to the environment and get used to everything around me. And, I think that started taking a toll on me, with me having little ones, being somewhere that I'm not familiar with. I had been back here quite a few times for Christmas and what have you, but not to live. Yeah. And so, and it was a big move, and I'm, questioning like, did I do the right thing? Is this the right thing? You start getting in your head with shit. And, I'm like, God, how do I make friends here? How do I start over with this and that? Because I'm not out there anymore. I'm not partying anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. And so, I'm getting in the feels and, I would always have a bottle. At this time, Morgan's already, I think, like 9 months or so into his sobriety. And, he's starting to get solid with it. And he's digging deep with the real estate stuff. So he's busy with studying and this and that. So I'm home with the kids. And, I have alcohol in the house. Yeah. So I started noticing myself, taking morning shots, and I was a stoner. So that's one thing I was loving when I moved here. Like, fuck yeah, let's hit the shot,
Yeah.
And like, I was, eat edibles, these like chocolate gummies, or, smoking the pin, or even smoked a little flower, whatever, and just chill. It was good. And then, I get this fucking phone call in the middle of the night. And those middle of the night phone calls are the worst. It's not nothing good, right? And I get it with Morgan waking me up. because I put my phone on silent.
Yep.
So the phone call. So this is the first phone call coming in. I want to say it was early July, when we had first moved out here. And so call, I think they call more, or I don't know if it was Morgan's phone or my phone. I can't recall. But I mean, at this time, I have a bottle in the house. I'm drinking here and there. Like I said, I was never a home drinker, but I drank a little bit here and there. I think I would drink, especially trying to, I think not, maybe it was loneliness, moving to a new environment, new scene, no friends, at home. Boredom. I mean, shit, I wasn't really that bored. I had 2 kids, so my hands were full. But I think maybe to like remove myself, that's how I removed myself, from the hectic, or from the chaos.
That was like your way of giving yourself
like
a break
I couldn't,
from all of it.
like, and I would be okay with that. I couldn't go to a bar with my kids, right? So
exactly.
I would just, my drink was vodka cranberry, and just, have a little cocktail or smoke a little herb and, do my thing, clean this, laundry, unpack, get the house together, right? And so, I get this phone call. I can't recall if I picked up this first phone call or how it happened. It's not relevant, but it happened. And I get a phone call from my family, and it's, at the time, I think it was my sister, and she told me that my dad, no, wait, it's from my mom. So I get a phone call from my mom. She said that my dad had fallen down in the bedroom, and she had to go help him up, that he was laying there for about an hour or two. She didn't know, but he said he was calling out for her, but she didn't hear him. She was in the living room, and that was not like my dad, and my dad was he stayed in the room a lot. He was a very depressive person. Did I say that correctly? Depressive?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, he depressed. Yeah, very depressed person. He in the end, I didn't put that out there, but like when my dad turned around 50, he stopped shooting dope and he alternated to methadone.
Okay.
So he was on methadone until the day he died. So my dad, like, I never knew my dad off of anything. Like, I always thought, what would it have been like? What would my dad have been like not using, my dad's education, he went up to 8th grade. Yeah. My mom finished high school. So I always wondered, how would he have been if he was like straight, and didn't get caught up in all that shit, and because I never knew him any other way. And, so that phone call, my mom's telling me, my dad fell and he's laying in the bed. And I told her, can you go put the camera? I FaceTimed her. Can you put it on him so I could see him and talk to him? And at that point, like, I'm talking to him, hey, Pop. And I just knew like something wasn't right with my dad, like I knew he was something was wrong. And I mean, imagine all those years of abuse and shit, and my dad was a drinker as well, but he was able just to stop drinking because he got tired of being sick, of vomiting. Yeah. You would think tired of being dope sick, right? But no, he got tired of vomiting and shit. Like his insides, he's like, fuck this, I ain't drinking no more, So he would go hard. I think the last time he really went hard in the paint with drinking was at my wedding. Yeah. He loved tequila sunrise. I'm like, ooh, sugar bomb. But like, I think that was the last time I saw my dad, get turned up. And so, he's laying there and something just didn't look right. He looked real sick. And I was like, Mom, I don't know. I think you should take him to the doctor, take him to the hospital. He's not looking too well. Well, your daddy's stubborn. He says he's going to lay there. And I did the bigger thing here, and I'm like, fuck this. I'm calling my aunt, his youngest sister. And I call my aunt, and I tell my aunt, hey, I need you to go check on Pop. He's not looking right. And everybody knows my dad. My dad, he don't get sick like that. He don't let shit take him down like that. She's like, okay, I'm going to go check on him. She went. She called 911.
Really?
Yeah. So they came pick up my dad. As he had had a heart attack.
Jeez.
And just fucking trying to live through it. So that's how that goes to show you his demeanor and how like where he was at. He hated doctors. Yeah. He hated going to the hospital. He never wanted to go to the doctor.
And was it the system, you think?
Oh yeah. Like your organs. I mean, imagine all that damage you do from shooting dope.
Well, and he knows what's going to happen at the doctor. You know, he's not an idiot.
Facts.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna fucking call it like they see it.
Exactly.
You know, and
Yeah,
he don't want to hear all that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, who does? You know, you're like, oh, here we go. You know.
The older I get, the more I'm like that. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Maybe it's my wife, dude. The older I get, the more I'm like, oh, my finger.
Well, think about the system, man. There's more money in curing shit than or more money in treating shit than curing shit.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
yeah.
I mean, they're building a big old hospital right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your aunt calls 911.
Yeah,
Dad
they
has
take
a
my
heart
dad.
attack.
Well, he ends up going to the hospital. They end up keeping him. He ends up like things start happening, and they're trying to, you know, get everything right with him, stabilize him, get everything good. His organs, trying to get everything right. You know, they're finding this, doing that. You know, everything's coming to surface now. You know, Pop's real sick, and you know, at this time, like I think certain things like they're having to reteach him basically like mobility and certain things with certain like things happen that they need to show him like, okay, he went into like a rehab facility where they were just trying to teach him like sitting up and this and that and eating and just, you know, the basics of like it kind of took, it took him down. And then, so then, you know, he gets bounced back at that time. Morgan and I was like, we got on a plane right away, you know, I'm going to go see my dad. So we take the kids and, you know, my kids are still, you know, little at this time. I think Santana was like a year and a half. Was she even a year and a half? I think maybe even younger than that.
Yeah.
Maybe, I can't recall. And so, we get out there and he's in the hospital and we go in and, he, you know, he sees Morgan and he loves on Morgan and, you know, hey Dad, how you doing? Well, okay, let me rewind. He's in the hospital. Then he has, I guess another, while he's doing the rehab walking stuff, he goes down. He's down for 10 minutes. Here we go. Sorry, I got to backtrack.
No, you're good.
So he's down for 10 minutes. You know what happens when you're down that long and you're not getting oxygen to your brain, obviously. There can be some damage. They get him, they bring him back, resuscitate him, bring him back. He's back, but he's not back, but he's back. We get on the plane immediately because when he was out there, when he first went in, we thought like they were just going to, you know, help him out. He's going to go back home. Cool.
Yeah.
He ended up dropping down in there. So then they kept him. And Morgan and I, we saw it was more serious. So we got on the plane with the kids, went out to see my dad. And this is where shit starts getting real rough. We go into the room. He sees Morgan and like he's holding Morgan's hand and squeezing him. Like he loved Morgan. And my dad didn't like any of the dudes I dated. He didn't like, my dad never liked, nobody was ever good enough.
Yeah.
But he adored Morgan. Like something about Morgan. I mean, who doesn't, right?
I was going to say,
You know,
too, do
like-
you think maybe it was like Morgan was kind of your way out of that life a little bit? And maybe your dad saw it that way?
Yeah, but maybe, I don't know.
Did the other, and it didn't, I mean, maybe outside of Mike, but like, did the other guys didn't really seem to take care of you too well?
Yeah, I mean, like emotionally, you know, financially, maybe like I've always been pretty good about like, I don't know, I've always been very independent.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always like, I tried to stray away from what I knew, what I was brought up around, like that same typical Latino machismo guy.
Yeah.
Because I realized when I married a machismo guy that I couldn't be in a relationship with that I was such a strong spirit and a strong energy that I couldn't have somebody telling me how to dress, what I can do, who I can be around, who my friends can be. Like, I was like, nah, we're not doing that.
That makes sense.
You know, so I the selection of men that I've chosen thereafter, they were, you know, they were great men, you know, all of them were good. I'll give credit to all of them. They were good in their own ways. You know, obviously I found love and had chemistry and a connection with these different relationships, you know, and I learned from them and I cherished each one of them. And, you know, I took the best parts of them and I moved forward and I learned what I didn't want, you know, and I took that forward with me too. I learned like, okay, red flag. I don't want that. I don't want that. Right. And I kind of just set up like my process, like the way I set things up, who I wanted to date, what kind of man I wanted. But I had to learn that through like experience and growth, you know, like dating kind of different men and doing, So, but I learned it though, you know, I learned the lesson in each one. I'm like, I'm never going to be with a dude like that, or I'm not going to be with a guy like that, you know? So like when Morgan came around, like he just was checking off everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, this is too good to be true. He's putting it on me.
Yeah.
So
And your dad did he know that?
my dad saw like what a good man Morgan was as far as being a great husband, a provider. Morgan's very social.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I am as well. So like he's very lovable. He's likable.
Yeah.
He's real.
He's very
and so like
magnetic,
anytime like I would introduce him to anybody in my family, it was just all love, you know, like
That's
they're
cool.
just like, oh, he's a cool cat. You know, I see why you guys are together. You know, you guys balanced each other out because I'm, you know, like I said, I'm very like feisty and Morgan's just my, you know,
kind of level.
yeah, like he's just he chills me out, you know, it's just a great balance, you know? And, so my dad just always had a love and respect for Morgan and his hard work and his hustle, you know? And, I think probably my dad, I would like to say he probably wanted to live vicariously through Morgan too. You know, maybe that's a journey my dad, I'm sure that's a journey. How can that not be a journey that you want when you have a family, you know? I mean, my dad had his path and he went down, he selected that path, you know, he could have chose another direction, but he didn't have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't know where to begin. He didn't know, there were no outlets for him in that sense, you know? And so it was different for him, you know? And, you know, so Morgan's, you know, at the bed and holding my dad's hand, and my dad, this is where shit gets hard. So when my dad went down and he came to, they were asking him questions about like, how many kids do you have? Who? And he named his kids, but he named my sister's nickname is China. And he named my sister's name, but then he named her real name. And then he named my brother, but he didn't name me. So it's like I was removed. Like he didn't
remember.
No. So, you know, when I'm there before my dad, he's looking at me. He thought I was his sister.
Really?
And I think that was really fucking heartbreaking for me inside. And I just suppressed that. Because I'm not gonna make my dad feel like shit about that. I mean, he's in the position he's in. It's not his fault, right? Yeah. But like, I'm trying to like process this shit. Like, damn, my dad doesn't recognize me. And it's tearing me up. Like, and then I start getting in my head, did I move? Is it because I moved away? Is it because I went to go create a life elsewhere? And he doesn't remember, like, you know, I'm starting to fucking go through and do all this crazy stuff in my head. And what am I doing? You know, drinking. And I'm starting to drink a little more. The drink is really starting to pick up at this time. And so, you know, the doctor said that he might, you know, lose memory of some things, or things may come back in time. And, you know, we don't know. Only time will tell. So, you know, my dad's on his journey to recovery. You know, they're rehabilitating him. They're doing everything they have to. My dad's a stubborn man, you know, like he doesn't like people helping him and shit, like, leave me alone. You know, he's just very angry, you know, get out. Just, you know, it's just my dad. And so I remember we were there for about a week, and then we had to head back. We had to get back home. And, you know, but I left with feeling like, okay, my dad, like from my understanding, like my dad was going to get out of this, you know, it's going to be good. Yeah. And so I come back home, we get back home, and not even a couple weeks later, we get that middle of the night phone call. It's my brother calling Morgan's phone because my phone was on silent. Morgan's like, babe. And I like sat up, like I knew, because I was feeling weird all that day. Yeah. Something just was not settling well. It wasn't feeling right. And my drinking was already picking up a lot during that time, because I was just like, how does my dad not remember me? I was just mentally going through it. And then I'm living in a new place, and just a lot going on, you know, and I'm just suppressing away. And at this time I'm like eating edibles, smoking the pin, and smoking flower all at the same time, and drinking just to fucking try to get some rest. Yeah. And so, you know, I get this phone call, and it's my brother, and he's telling Morgan like that my dad went down, but they couldn't resuscitate him. And they tried, he's gone. And Morgan's like, babe. And I knew what he was going to say, you know, and I just was like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to hear it. You know, like I just knew. I think at that time, like, I didn't know how to process any of it. You know, I'm like, there's so many things I didn't get to say. Yeah. You know, like so many things.
Were you angry? Right away?
Very much so. Yeah. Very, very angry. Yeah. Very angry. And I suppressed the shit out of that anger too. And just with drinking. And I think the hardest part was having to look over FaceTime and see my dad in the morgue laying there and having to say goodbye to him that way. I started feeling the guilt of not being there, to kiss him and hug him goodbye. And that took a toll on me. That took a really, really big toll on me. And I had to keep it together for my family, for my kids. And I flew out to the funeral, and I remember being up there. My brother and my sister had me do the
eulogy.
The eulogy. So I wrote out. Morgan helped me write out this eulogy, and I had to get up there and do it. I was like, why would you guys put me to do it? But I guess I'm the strong one, right? But so now I'm at the funeral. I have a bottle of vodka in the back trunk. I was probably half of that bottle was gone when I got up there to do the eulogy. I don't think anybody even knew. And my family didn't even really know I had an issue. Yeah. They knew I partied, but they didn't know I had an issue with the drinking, like the way where it was going. They even some of them were like, what? Like, I would never knew it.
Were you hiding that? Like,
I don't think I was just functioning. Yeah. I think I was at a place because I was never like sloppy.
And the crazy thing about your story is like, even if the people in your life outside of Morgan knew, do you think they would have done anything about it?
I don't know.
Or said anything, not like it's their responsibility.
Right, like, right. Honestly, I think the ones that said something was Morgan's family. Really? And then at that time, I was feeling attacked. Yeah. Because you're feeling attacked at that time. Yeah, why are you judging me? Do you know what I'm going through?
Yeah,
like,
you're not taking the one thing away from me.
You don't get this. You don't know. You're not feeling what I'm feeling. You don't know where I'm at. Like, so, and they were just looking out for me. But in that moment, when you're in your moment of darkness, you don't understand that. And nor do you want to hear it, because you are so consumed by what you're going through and in your own headspace that.
Well, and that's, at that point in time, that's your only defense mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the only thing that makes you feel good. And I remember getting so angry when people would try to take that away from me.
For sure.
And back to the point, not to take away from your story for a second, but that's to the point where if you're seeing someone that's hurting or something's going wrong, don't accuse them. Just say, hey, what do you need? I'm here for you. How can we help you?
Yes.
Come with that dental touch, because it's better to do that than get punched in the face.
Yeah, facts.
It's true.
Absolutely.
Anyway, keep going.
No, so here I am reading, my dad's eulogy. I'm half a bottle in, and that's how I'm functioning at that time. And we go to the after our funerals, our family we all get together for gatherings, and we have food, and usually there's drinking involved. Yeah. Again, that's what we were doing, and I remember it's just drinking nonstop, and I had the kids with me, but my mom was keeping an eye on the kids, and I guess I blacked out, and bam, I fall over, and they picked me up and put me on the couch, and I just I slept it off, and then woke up the next day, and still nobody thought anything. Everybody's just like, she's fucked up. Her dad died. She's drinking, like and so my family, to them, that's excused, like that. She's okay. Yeah. Like she's dealing. She lives far away. She had to come back and bury her dad. And this is, what we do. This is what we drink, Right. So I get back, we get back home. My drinking's amplified now. Now I'm in the darkest heavy. Yeah. I'm like, a 750 probably on a daily. I'm stopping now for little pints. I've gotten myself to a place of having to have shooters in my bag, because if not, I'm gonna start getting sick. I'm finding myself having to pull over at liquor stores just to run in and grab a shooter just to level out. Mm-hmm. It's starting now. I'm at like the peak of it. It's getting and I'm just suppressing away. I can see my marriage, getting distant from me. And Morgan and I were always solid, but I could just see the distance because I'm holding everything in. I'm not talking. I'm not feeling. I'm not dealing. I'm just, and that was the easy way out for me. Yeah. And, it's starting this vicious, like, circle, crazy whirlwind that I'm going through, and I'm feeling alone, and I'm feeling like, you know, when you're in a room full of people, but you still feel so fucking alone, and that's where I'm at. And you know, I'm like, the drinking just kept going and going and going, and then it didn't slow down for me. And you know, I was having these blackout moments, and it started getting to a place where I started getting, it wasn't like, you know, it's fun until it isn't, right? And I'm getting to this place where I'm waking up at 5 a.m. and I have to start drinking in order to level out so that I'm not feeling like shit.
Yeah.
Hey, another 5 a.m. drinker. Welcome.
Yeah, there we go. And I'm finding myself hovering on the toilet, constantly vomiting my brains out. And now I'm really getting to a place where my littles, you know, Santana at the time is like 2.5 and Jackson's almost 4. And, you know, they run to me when I'm in the bathroom. Mom, you okay? You sick today? You don't feel well? You know, they're starting to see and they're little, you know, they're babies, but they're seeing, they're observant, they're smart, they're recognizing like something's not right with mommy, you know, and I'm just, you know, this is just starting to be a daily thing. And, you know, I got a bottle down there, making sure I have a bottle, and that bottle gets low. I'm having my recovering husband go to the fucking liquor store to give me another bottle, you know, and to even put him in that situation, shame on me, right? But like, that's what addiction is.
So much pain.
You know, that's what addiction, you know, that's how far my addiction had come. And, you know, nobody, you know, on the West Side is knowing what's up because I'm out here. I'm living life, doing my thing. They don't know what I'm going through out here. They're not seeing me on a regular regimen, so they don't see what's occurring, what's happening here. And I'm just spiraling, you know, I'm spiraling, feeling alone, that the hole's getting deeper and deeper and darker. And, you know, I'm just trying to function and go through life, just trying to push through and still stay level headed. And I'm finding myself, any function that I go to or anything I'm going to, I got to make sure that I'm pretty level before I get there, or, you know, make sure that I have shooters in my purse so that I can step away in the bathroom and go take a shooter, you know, and okay, I'm good. I'll level out. And now it's at its darkest point, and we end up buying the house in Timnath. And so, you know, we're trying to celebrate that, and we move in, and I'm just still mourning and not knowing how to deal with the loss of my dad. And then, you know, then I start getting news my mom's sick, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like, it's just, everything's just fucking crumbling. Yeah. And, you know, I'm losing family members are passing, my mom's youngest sister, then my mom's oldest sister, like just a lot of death in my family, my mom's brother, like, it was trickle down effect. Like, oh, I'm losing all this family out of nowhere. All of a sudden there's constant funerals. I'm having to watch shit because it's COVID on Zoom. I have to watch a funeral on Zoom. Like, it's like, fuck, how do you grieve? How do you have peace of mind with that? You know, you've seen your family crying and you just want to hold them. Yeah. You just got to sit back and watch your uncle in a casket. And it's just a lot of just fucked up shit that I'm just suppressing, and I don't want my kids to see me all crying and upset, so I'm just bottling it up, just trying to live through life. Here we are living in our new house, and a couple months in, you know, and like I was at the bottom. I was at the bottom of the bottle, and you know, my mom comes out. My husband surprises me with my mom, and he has her come out, and he knew there was nothing he could do for me at that time, and he knew I needed her, and so he sent for her, and she came out for a month. And she didn't realize how far the drinking had come. You know, she didn't realize how far the smoking weed, like eating edibles, smoking flower, and smoking the pen all at the same time, which is crazy, you know, and drinking to get sleep. Like, just imagine, you know, and she, you know, she was helping with the kids a lot, and, you know, grieving with her and just trying to, you know, get through things. And, you know, she saw me, you know, shit-faced quite a few times, and you know, she still just thought like that's how she's dealing, and she, you know, tell me, Mija, you know, it's not good, you know, you shouldn't do that, you know, and just doing what I'm doing, you know. And there was towards the end, that last week that she was here, I was trying to detox myself. I was trying to withdraw out because I was tired. You know, I was like, I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm tired of, like, it was just the vomiting, the abuse I was doing to my insides, having my kids come to the bed. Mommy, you going to get out of bed today? You're going to feel okay today? You want to play? You don't feel well? Like, just all the shame, the guilt, everything just was compiling.
Dude, and that is just like a mountain. I mean, I've been there, you know, and that's, That's chaos.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the definition of chaos,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just, and it goes on upstairs here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just, I was in bed. I guess it was a couple days I had been in bed, and, I'm trying to detox myself. And I remember Morgan saying, like, he had asked me before, you want to go to like rehab? And I'm, no, I'm good. We don't do that at my family.
Yeah.
And go back to, we don't do that. We're tough. We do that ourselves. We detox ourselves. And he knew, because he knew I was stubborn. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Well, I started detoxing that last week. I felt like that would, I don't know why the fuck I thought that would be a good time for me to detox myself out. I mean, in the long run it was, but I'm detoxing myself. So it's like, I don't know, maybe 48 hours or so, 50 hours of me detoxing myself. And, I guess I was in bed, and Morgan left to work that morning and came back that afternoon. And my mom was watching the kids in the living room while I was laying down. She thought like I was just fighting like a cold and just not feeling well. And I guess I had popped out to smoke a bowl here and there that she saw me do, but then I'd go back in the room and just lay down. Like I was so disconnected. And when Morgan got home, he asked my mom, like, hey, where's Irene at? And she's been in the room. She came out to smoke a bowl or something and then went back to bed. And, I'm just letting her rest. And my mom, she's such a sweet soul. Like she tries not to pry, and she's resting.
She tries to be helpful.
Yeah, and she knows that I was going through my stuff upstairs. So he comes in the room and he comes to check on me. Well, he finds me with my eyes rolling back, and I'm not making any sense. It's just a bunch of jibber jabber. And he's like, oh shit, and he's like, he knew like something's not right. I got to get her to the ER. So he tries to get me up and get me dressed to get to the ER. And I guess I'm just dead weight. I'm just all fucking not making sense, mumbling. He even asked me, are you drinking? I'm like, no, I haven't drank in like 2 days. He goes, I swear you have a bottle somewhere, because that's how much the alcohol started coming out.
Yeah.
And like I was consuming a lot of vodka. So imagine just like, boof, it's just coming out. So he's like, I know you're drinking somewhere. I'm like, no, I haven't. And I wasn't. It was like 2 days that I wasn't. It was just everything starting to come out.
Yeah.
And so then he tries to get me up and go take me to the car. And my mom had to help. My poor mom had to help him carry me to the car, get me in the car. He took me to ER. They admitted me in. I guess I was so out of it. And I was so out of it that I couldn't even sign anything, any waivers. So he had to be the voice for me.
Yeah.
And I guess apparently the doctor had asked me when I first went in if I wanted to go to rehab. And I was like, no, I'm good. I guess I refused. And the doctor told my husband, let's let her rest. We'll ask her in a few hours. Let's give her some time to come to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Came back, I don't know, 3-4 hours later. It was some time. Come back. And the doctor asked me, would you like to go to rehab, Miss Merriman? And I said, yes. Game changer.
Why'd you say yes?
I knew I was sick and tired. I knew it was something I had to do. I knew that it wasn't fair to my kids. I knew it wasn't fair to my husband. It wasn't fair to me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the life that I wanted.
Yeah.
That wasn't happiness. Where was this lively spirit? Where was this strong woman that was always, here?
Yeah.
I knew I had to do something different.
Yeah. And you'd survived so much at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy.
And it was time. It was fucking time. Like I was done. Like I couldn't. I'm like, shit, if my husband could do this, I could do this.
Yeah,
facts. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Morgan was like, oh shit, like let's get her, like let's go,
so
like because he knew I always said no.
Yeah.
I was so stubborn. I was always like, no, I'm good. And I was like, yeah. He's like, let's go, let's go. Like call them right now. They set me up a bed at North Point.
Yeah. Did you do the inpatient?
I did.
Yeah.
So I did it, but I did the detox program.
Okay.
Because I wanted to hurry back home to my family.
Yeah.
So
is that what, 30 days?
No, 7.
7? Okay.
Yeah, I did the 7-day detox. But they do have it was a 30, 28,
yeah,
30 day
28 days or something like that. Yeah.
Which I didn't do. So they admit me. I go in. My mom extends her trip to take care of my kids. Thank you, Mom. Love you.
I'd love to meet your mom someday. She sounds amazing.
She's an angel. Oh, and she's a great cook too.
Dude, okay. Mexican food is my favorite.
Oh, wow.
It is.
Boom.
You guys are fucking incredible at it, man. Like anytime I can get some authentic Mexican food.
She's
dude.
authentic as they get.
Yeah.
So I'm on my way to North Point and get out the car, and they make you blow.
Yeah.
I blew 0 because I wasn't drinking, and that's when Morgan finally realized, like, oh shit, it's all coming out. And the doctor told him, like, yeah, this is what happens when you try to detox yourself. She could have died. Like you start seizuring and shit. Like I didn't, and I knew better, but I didn't. Like I didn't. I was trying to just like think I had this.
I did.
In the back.
I detoxed myself once, and it was brutal. Like I remember waking up, and it was like I had wet the bed.
Wet the bed.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm like, my wife's like, did you piss the bed?
And it's just,
I'm like, no, but I'm like, my clothes are soaked.
Yep.
And it was
crazy,
man.
I remember that.
That's fun, crazy. I never had any of that.
Oh man, I do.
Dude, I had shakes for days. Like
it's the worst.
It was crazy. Yeah, and then
dude, I was hardcore drunk every day from 5 a.m. till whenever I passed out, and I never had any of that.
Really?
Wow.
You're lucky then.
Yeah.
I'll say this: my liver enzymes, though, they were like totally fine, which I was super grateful for.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you: so you're getting here to North Point. You're about to check in, stay there for 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your headspace at? Because that's, dude, I remember the first time I laid in my detox bed, I fucking cried like a little baby. I was just like, I'm like, how in the hell did I end up here?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious what your mental state was when you were going into that place.
First entering those doors, you feel, I think there was just so many emotions I was going through. You feel sadness. I felt like, damn, I'll miss my kids.
Yeah.
But then you start feeling shame.
Yep.
You start feeling guilt.
Yeah.
You start feeling disgusted with yourself. You start feeling angry. Like it was just a lot of shit compiled up.
Totally.
And I knew it was shit that I needed to work through. I knew like, well, this is, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this now. I gotta do the work. And I knew at that point that I was ready to do the work and to get right, because that was the only way that I was going to come out of this.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come out on top. There's no way. I'm not going to stay at the bottom. Like I'm not meant. That's not my life. That's not what I'm meant for. I'm meant to do big things. I'm meant to be great.
That mindset, that attitude is exactly why I love the fact today that I'm an alcoholic. Because I don't think that mindset is required to go walk into that situation, break yourself down, and just be like, look, I'm done. Like, this is it. I'm going to be this version of myself that I always wanted to be. That's awesome. That's really cool. Cause a lot of people ask me that today. They're like, do you regret it? And I'm like, I regret a lot of the decisions that I made, but I don't regret where I'm at right now. Yeah. And I think Morgan was really one of the people that was like, no, dude, like you need to reframe that, because I think that phone died.
Oh, maybe. Oh. We'll switch it up.
Sorry, I just realized that. Did it die or is it?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Oh, you have one of the. We don't have a charger for that.
Is it? What is it? Mini USB?
Yeah. Not this one. Not the lightning cable.
I do not.
Shit, and I didn't bring my charger.
It's all good.
Do you think somebody in the office may have it?
Yeah, maybe. Let me go ask the front desk out real quick.
Wait.
I was going to say, look down there because
There's no chargers here.
Let's try to have a plethora of cords in here, but let me go see if she's got one in front.
You're doing awesome.
Sweet.
Pretty intense.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know. Everybody's story is just so different and so crazy that we all just had to. It's crazy that we had to like just figure it out ourselves to an extent.
Yeah.
But then it's also like having Morgan support, and that's why I don't want to interrupt, but it was one of those things too where it's like everybody around you knows and they're just waiting for you to come to so they can jump on it and help you.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's a really hard thing because everybody sees it, everybody knows it,
and they're walking on eggshells. They're treading lightly, and they want to, but they're like, that's not. I don't want to. You don't want to steer the pot,
right?
So to say. You don't want to make things crazy.
Yep. It's tough.
Yeah.
What's a smart plug? That's interesting. It's like an element right now.
Yeah, that's all good. We can just put you on my phone.
Okay.
Because you're the hero of the story, not me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. Now I know. Learn something new every time we record an episode. Now I need to carry.
Yeah, it's funny. I was
USB
looking
charger.
at my charger and I was like, I don't need it. But it didn't help anyway, I guess.
I just try to keep everything in like a grab bag, so I can just like grab shit and go. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. Do you want to try to get in the scoot over here with me? Snuggle up. Turn it. There you go. A little bit more towards me. Other way. A little bit more.
I'm trying not to get the door.
You're good.
How's that?
Yeah, maybe just scoot over
This way or
this way towards me. There you go. Right there. That's perfect.
All right.
Okay, that's good. Woohoo! I'm gonna have a lot of edits on this one.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Honestly, I'm really glad that you decided to go this far because this is awesome. This is really good.
But yeah, so
we were kind of talking about rehab. You're getting into rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Morgan's dropping me off. I'm entering, and like you said, you asked about, where your headspace was at.
Yeah.
Going through all the things, they set me up and had my own room, and at that time, COVID again. So they quarantine you for like a week or 4 days, should I say. So like the first 4 days, I couldn't fucking communicate with anybody, like only the nurses and what have you. So it like.
Are you doing the program stuff at that time though? Like
no. So that's the thing. You got to wait until you're in the clear, and then you can start going to groups, right?
Okay.
And I'm all damn. So like it sucked. I had to sit. Like I watched everything on Netflix. I think at that time, like and I did a lot of drawing, a lot of writing. I just did things that would try to help me, help my mind, help my brain. And so I kept busy with that. Seeing the psychiatrist in there and just checking in with that and maintaining. They put you on medications and trying to stay afloat with all that. And then overall I think because I was ready, my headspace was just, I knew I was like where I needed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was the sunshine coming through on day 4 through my window was like a heaven sent for me.
And at that point in time, you're making this decision between life and death.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. Like 4th day, that sunshine coming through, that's just like life kind of shining into your room. And, that's the best way that I can describe the other side of this coin. Yeah. So you're there. So you do the detox 7 days. Did you?
So the last couple of days, I was able to start interacting, going to the groups and stuff.
So you're there 7 days. They quarantine you for 4.
Yeah.
So you only had really like 3 days to be in the group. Okay.
Yeah. So I went ahead and I went hard in the paint. Like I was going to but they put a list up and I was going to every single one of them. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking work the shit out. Because with me, like that's one thing about me, and I credit my dad for that. Like I don't half-ass anything. Yeah. Like tell me I can't.
Right? Yeah.
Like tell me I can't. I want you to tell me I can't. And that was something that, my dad, that came from my dad, whether it was a negative place or not, him telling me, you're going to be this or worthless or that, or you're not going to amount to shit, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. So, if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to go hard in the paint, I'm like, there's no fucks given here.
Yeah.
And, I went hard and I went to every group. I'm like, I'm going to fucking work on myself. I'm going to be a better version of myself for my family. That was the most important. To come out of those doors and to have light in my eyes again.
Yeah.
Because if you guys know, that fucking black in your eyes swallows you up.
Yeah.
Like you don't even recognize.
Dude, that's like, it's
That
this
person.
abyss.
Yeah.
You know, and it, yeah.
Do you ever look back at pictures in yourself during the drinking days?
All the time.
Doesn't
And you
it
can tell.
suck?
You can tell when you're like smashed or like when you're just not there.
I still struggle with that, to be honest with you, man.
Connor's birthday 2 days ago, and Naya put a little recap of all of our photos on Facebook.
And how many,
and I was watching it, and I was just like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, luckily, I'm trying to think. Well, I don't know. When's your son's birthday?
It was 2 days ago.
What's the date today?
January 7th.
My son's is the 4th.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I sent you that freaking. I tried to make a 9 of pancakes.
It did not look like a 9.
It was a dick.
It was a dick. Yeah, you're right.
He didn't know. He was all good.
That's we talk way too much because I'm like, oh yeah, you did send me that, and I totally remember it. And it never even clicked that our son's birthdays are 3 days apart till right now.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's my
Got
bad.
distracted with the dick.
It happens.
Oh my goodness.
I was gonna ask you too. So you went super hard into therapy.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was the biggest thing that you took out of that?
Being okay with letting my guard down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Being vulnerable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What happened when you were able to do that?
Whew. Unstoppable.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. Day and night.
It's
How
like
much lighter
like,
were you?
oh my, like I am flying.
Yeah.
You know, I am flying. And like one of the first things I went and did was jump out of an airplane.
Are you serious?
Hell yeah. Like I
That's
was just,
awesome, dude.
I went and jumped out of a fucking
Oh
plane.
my
That's
God.
how like high I was
Yeah.
on life.
God,
Being sober.
I'm trying to find somebody that can really put into words that feeling. And I haven't been able to find somebody. I don't think that you can really verbally do that justice. You know,
if you're listening right now, you like this right here.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
It is so freeing.
and it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so real.
You know, and that's the thing is for so long you just live under the weight of these decisions and this stress and this guilt and the shame and you know, you just this chaotic mental cycle, you know, and then when you finally get to that point where you admit it all and you release it, man, it's like this floodgate opens.
Yeah.
And everything just flushes out.
What a perfect way. Just jump out of a plane.
Dude,
that's
that's
so
so
It was
amazing.
the best.
Yeah, that's
the best.
amazing.
It was amazing. It's something that, you know, and you know, it's just something that nobody can ever take that from you.
Yeah.
Like the peace and tranquility
Yes.
that you feel up there,
Yeah.
the quiet, the silence, but the light.
Yeah.
You know, that endless light.
Yep.
Like it's just the beauty of it all.
Yeah.
And
And
to
you
know
can-
that you're there,
Yeah.
you know, doing it and you're present and you're taking everything in.
Yeah.
Everything. You know?
All right, so everybody listening, you have to like, subscribe, and share with everybody so we can have all success stories, and we will just pay for people to jump out of planes.
Yeah, we'll get sponsored by what is that place in Longmont?
Anybody, doesn't matter.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That was a place we jumped out. I think it was a place in Longmont.
In Longmont, yeah, there's
or, yeah,
right-
or
right on-
Loveland, or I don't know, maybe a Loveland Airport. I don't know. I can't recall.
I got to do that.
Yeah, it's good shit.
I've
They did
always
it.
wanted to do it, but so
So as I'm coming out, so
yeah.
I'm there for, you know, the 7 days, and Morgan picks me up on that 7th day. I'm like stoked. I'm feeling good. The clarity's starting to come in a little bit. You know, I'm feeling good about where I'm at, and you know, having an aftercare program.
yeah,
That was the most important thing.
yeah,
To exit that facility and to have a program, have something set up. Like you can't just go out thinking like, okay, I'm good.
Did North Point help you set that
Yeah,
up?
so I set up IOP with them.
Okay.
So I started IOP immediately the
Yeah.
week after. So I got out Sunday. I was in IOP Monday.
Yeah.
And I did that for 3 months. 3 days a week, I think 3 days a week for like 4
4
hours,
hours.
something like that. Yeah.
Were you in the
Yeah.
morning?
I was in the evening.
Okay.
And I went hard in the paint though.
Yeah.
So I got into that. I had the best counselor. Like
I bet you anything we had the same ones
probably.
because I am a huge proponent for that facility.
Yeah,
like rehab.
same.
It changed my life.
Yeah, mine too. Same. And You know, I went hard in the paint with that, with IOP. I did the work. Like, I was in it. I lived in it. I got raw with it. I, you know, I never, I would hear Morgan in his meetings, on AA meetings. And sometimes I'd sit in and I'd listen and, you know, or maybe chime in, you know, but I never, you know, really got hard into it.
Yeah.
So Morgan's like, you know, why don't you come with me to a meeting, you know? And I'm like, all right, you know. The day I walked into an AA meeting, like, game changer.
Yeah.
And like, I just never stopped. And then, you know, I don't need a sponsor. I'm good. You know, I can do this. I go to AA, do IOP. I'm good with that. A couple months later, boom, got a sponsor. Best decision I ever made. It's just the process and the work. And then, you know, I started seeing therapists. I have a trauma therapist. I have an EMDR therapist. While I was in North Point, they exposed me to Dharma meditation.
Yeah.
So now I run Dharma. Like, a friend of ours, we host it. Yeah, we host it. So
that's cool.
You know, and best thing ever, Dharma is like life. To me, that is my religion. You know, Dharma meditation is so there's not even a word for it. Like, talk about a peaceful soul. You know, you just the light that comes with that.
Dude, that'd be really good for you, Mitch.
Yeah, recovery Dharma is just.
Honestly, I'm like, I told my wife the other day, I was like, I need to start doing yoga and stuff like that, you know, like just getting into, because I still struggle with that kind of stuff.
Just quiets your mind, and it helps train you, quiet the mind, and don't let the wheels go off. Just
Hey,
come back in a little bit.
You would be happy. I did put a weight bench and some free weights in my garage yesterday.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah, dude. So
Let's go do legs.
Yeah. Let's go. We'll see.
So I'm just at a place where,
you now lead your own
self-care.
group?
Yeah. A friend, one of my friends and I, we both do. We took over it. There was a friend of ours hosting it for a long time, and then he moved to Denver, and it was just getting too hard for him to come back and forth. So he's like, hey, do you guys want to take over? Sure.
That's awesome.
So, like, great space. We do that on Monday evenings at the Heart of the Rockies out in Fort Collins.
Nice.
And so, you know, I just started divulging and just touching on different things that were bringing light to my soul and just bringing me peace.
Yeah.
And working through my trauma, going to a trauma, to me, that's very important, especially when you come from so many traumatic situations that you have suppressed for so long. Imagine what that does to the soul. Yeah. And, you know, and so now, you know, doing EMDR or going to my trauma therapist, like working through all these things, it's like you're going down the list, and it's like you had all these rocks on you, you know, and it's like you're picking away.
That's so funny you said that, because I always use the analogy of a backpack. You know, it's like you got this backpack full of shit, you know, rocks and weight. And, you know, by going through that process, you just start to remove those rocks.
And it gets lighter and lighter, and the load gets lighter, and you get more comfortable in your own skin. You become more confident. Yeah. You know, the clarity is just endless, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
It's, like I said, it's day and night. You know, I'm a little over 2.5 years, and it's amazing. I never saw my life being where it's at today. Yeah. You know, like I always thought drinking would always be a part of my life, you know, and it's so good to not have to wake up and fucking tend to that.
Dude, exactly. Explain yourself.
It's such a succulent bitch. Like, it sucks your soul. Like, fucking the spirit, like they call it fucking spirit, it turns you into an evil spirit. Like, it just drains your fucking soul. It takes your light. And like, just getting pieces of myself back, and then seeing other pieces of myself that grow throughout this journey, you know, it's just been amazing.
And so, are you discovering parts or pieces about yourself that maybe you didn't know were there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
You know, I always had this picture of me and my two best friends in high school, and I just loved that version of myself, you know, so that was always what I was trying to get back to. And yeah, it's cool, man. Like, I find myself like even better than that version, you know? Yeah.
Like, I was able to go back to school, and I, you know, became an esthetician, and then I pursued permanent makeup artist school, and then I got certified in that. And then my husband helped me open my own business. I designed a spa inside of the basement of my home, and like, just all the opportunities that have been endless, you know, because of sobriety, because of the work I'm doing. And, you know, it's not fucking easy by no means. No. You know, I gotta check in every day. You know, you gotta open up that door. You gotta do the work. Right. But like, the rewards that come from doing all the work, it's been such a gift.
Yeah. And, you know, it's funny because you talk about these rewards, right? I think there's two very distinct different kinds. Like there is a spiritual reward and a monetary reward. And the spiritual is always 1,000 times better, and it fills your soul, and that's why we're doing this podcast, is to do that, is to give that hope and to fill the souls of other people, because what we experience is so real and so life-changing.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to put it into words.
Absolutely.
But, and I just, your story honestly blows my mind. Like so much of it, I honestly can't relate to, but, I mean, your strength is unbelievable, unparalleled.
Thank you.
And your vulnerability, I think the biggest thing that I honed in on your entire story is that change, and just how dramatic that change was when you were able to be vulnerable and be honest about, the shit that was going on in your life.
Yeah.
How was that received in the environment? Because you probably unloaded a lot of that in rehab. How was that? How was that received?
You know what? I wasn't expecting how the kind of responses that I was going to get. And I had such great feedback.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny, even in IOP, a lot of them were like, dude, you're a beast. Like,
for real.
Fucking, my therapist called me a phoenix. She's like, you're the phoenix here. She's like,
did they give you a rock when you left?
Yeah, they sure do. And in Dharma, we give rocks for milestones as well.
That. That's cool. So, I have mine on my
crystals,
on my shelf,
so to say. But and she told me, she called me her phoenix. She's like, you are the star child here.
Dude, I already know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
She was my counselor as well.
She's the best.
Yeah, she was
the
awesome.
Best. You know who you are. I'm going to see you at breakfast tomorrow morning.
What's up?
We should get her on.
I don't know if she would, man.
Yeah.
They've got some pretty strict boundaries on this kind of stuff. Like even if she saw me in public, she probably would just be like, hey, what's up? But like we wouldn't hang out. Like she's very,
that's cool.
She keeps that relationship really separate. But she changed my life.
That's awesome.
She helped me a lot.
So awesome.
And I know just by her naming you the Phoenix, I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
last thing I have for you, one, to speak to your, your profession. There's some tears shed and your makeup still looks great.
It's permanent.
Yeah, I know.
It's permanent, so it doesn't smear. The makeup.
So one thing that you cued in on, so when you and Morgan were in the beginning, when you guys were drinking and hanging out and being perfect, right? So now there's no alcohol. And this is going to speak to those who are worried about getting sober and what my social life is like. Knowing both of you, is it better now?
That's great. Great question.
That is a good question.
I used to think about like, fuck, is this going to be boring? Are we going to have fun? Are we going to be boring people? Like we were always the fucking like party and this is going to suck, Morgan and I, like, God, when I move, you move just like that. Like him and I are just so in sync with each other. And I'm so blessed to have that kind of relationship. We like, I don't know. It's just our growth through life, like where we're at, we complement each other so well and we support each other with everything we're doing that it makes him more attractive every day. To see him achieving his dreams, his goals, doing his thing, being a man, being a provider, being a great husband. We make time for ourselves. We go on our golf dates and, we try to do our little dates here and there when we can. Just communication, the communication. We've always had that, but, it kind of fell apart with that heavy drinking, the darkness, because I shut down. But to have that open back up and to be able to tell him, like, if I'm bothered by something or if I'm triggered or if I'm feeling overstimulated, and I could just tell him that, and he understands, he gets it. And that in itself it's awesome. It makes me more, it brings us closer,
and there's no ambiguity in your relationship. It's there, what's going on. And I think the biggest thing for me to answer your question, dude, like, cause that is a great question. I would say before, when I was drinking, I was having a lot of fun, but it was all like post midnight fun, And it's like, now it's like, I found my child spirit again, you know?
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like you find enjoyment in like going to look at houses with your family or going to look at Christmas lights or, you know, like these dumb things, like taking my kids to Estes Park and like going to these places that
Oh, yeah.
I went to as a kid, you know, like all of these things, like I feel like that spirit just starts to come back, you know, and it's in scripture. God tells us, you know, if you want to come into the kingdom of heaven, you have to come as a child, you know, and it's this belief, it's this lightness that these kids carry, you know, and that's the biggest thing that I think sobriety has given back to me, you know, is that childlike spirit. It's one of the things that attracted me to my wife from the beginning.
It's being present where your feet are.
Yeah.
You know,
For
and like
sure.
last night, it's funny you say that because I was just replaying something that happened last night. We don't let Connor play video games during the week. And so he was drawing like out a Minecraft thing that he's going to do with his friends.
He's like
tomorrow.
pre-planning it.
Yeah, oh, that's serious. And I'm like thinking like, okay,
I love that,
you got
dude.
a plan. I get it. You know,
Yeah.
even if it's video games, whatever.
Who cares?
And we're just sitting there drawing it. I was like, Connor, I have some questions on this. What does that lever do? And he goes, oh, Dad, this is into the secret base.
Yeah.
And you don't have that when you're drinking.
No, dude, not at all. Yeah, not at all. So, was there? I mean, we're 2.5 hours into this right now. This is a
Wow.
hell of a story. I know, right?
I hope I don't bore anybody out there.
I doubt.
I have a feeling that this is not going to bore anybody. But is there anything like we always ask people at the end, like, is there anything you want to leave, like your big nugget of wisdom, or like, you know, the one thing that you're like, I gotta make sure that people hear this.
You know, you got to keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
Straight up. Be real.
Yeah.
To me, like, just be authentic.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable.
Mhm.
Be honest. That's the most important. If you feel like you have an issue, let it be known.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not in it alone.
Yeah.
There's so many people, there's so many things, there's so many programs, there's so much out there that can help you.
Yeah.
You are not alone. And you try to find the light in the darkest moments.
Yeah.
That's, and it's hard, but that's
See, and that's exactly
you
why
know?
we called this shattered darkness, because that's what we're trying to do is find that darkness in people's lives and destroy that shit,
yeah,
you know, and shed some light on it
Yeah.
and break through that,
absolutely.
you know?
Agree.
So Irene, I cannot tell you enough. Thank you. Like for your vulnerability, your openness, like your story is beyond inspirational.
Thank
You know, your strength is beyond inspirational. Your kids are so lucky to have you, you know, and we're lucky.
Morgan's lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Mm,
You're an amazing human being.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I hope that
anytime.
my story will help people.
I think
Help,
it will.
even if it helps one.
Yeah,
It doesn't
that's why we're
matter.
here.
Like, I am very emotional about my journey, and
I love that.
I'm proud of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that took me a long time to say that.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to look in the mirror and say, "Fuck, I'm proud of you,
Yeah.
girl. You're doing it. You're doing what you got to do."
And you are,
So-
man. You're killing it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just want to close this out too. And we're here. If you guys are struggling, we're here to help. We've got connections to rehab facilities here. Eventually, we're trying to find aid to come up with funds. I mean, we really are not sure what the future of this thing looks like, but if you want to get involved, you can always email us at shattereddarkness5@gmail.com. If you have questions that you'd like us to talk about on air, you can also email those to us, shattereddarkness5@gmail.com.
If you own a skydiving company, call me.
If you want to let us jump out of your plane for free, my number is actually just email me at shattereddarkness5@gmail.com. But no, we just, we're doing this to heal our community from a disease that is devastating. And,
But you can get through it.
yeah, we
Mhm.
can all get through it, and it requires a strong community and honesty and vulnerability, like Irene said, but we are here to help you. So please reach out to us with questions, concerns, like, subscribe, Shattered Darkness NoCo on Instagram, and was the Shattered Darkness podcast on YouTube. I had to look at Aaron for that one.
Yeah, we're getting bigger now. So just Shattered Darkness, you'll find us.
Yeah. And you can find us on Spotify as well. So, again, thank you, Irene. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
listening, for supporting us. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back with another episode soon.
God bless y'all.
Bye.